Okay, good morning and welcome to the June 17th, 2026 City Planning Commission meeting. The commissioners look forward to hearing your case and understand every project is important and unique. In addition, we want to make sure we address all of the docketed items individually with the attention they need to build consensus between the applicant, public, and city staff. Please note, we only have 4 commissioners today due to holidays or World Cup events, which is the minimum for a quorum. If any applicant has an issue with that or prefers to wait and hold their case to when we have a much larger group, you're more than welcome to do so. And we'll continue case until, July 15th, if that's what you prefer. Otherwise, we're going to hear your cases in the order they are presented on the agenda. With that, let's go ahead and you just provide your piece because I think the rest of my stuff is the same.
I'll describe the testimony procedures for today's hybrid meeting. First, for those joining us today online, please know that there are 2 categories of people participating in the meeting: attendees and panelists. Right now, the only panelists are the commission members and city staff. If you are an applicant or a member of the public who would like to testify regarding a case, please use the raise hand function when the case is announced to let staff know that you would like to speak. There is a ribbon at the bottom of your Zoom screen with a hand icon. Please click this to raise your hand to request to speak on a case. You will need to accept the promotion to panelist in order to speak. It may appear temporarily as if you have been disconnected, but don't panic. You will reconnect shortly. If you are calling in on a phone line, your screen name appears as your phone number. You can raise your hand to speak when the case is called by pressing star followed by the number 9. When you are promoted to panelist, the chair would like for you to turn on your camera so that the commission can see you when it is your time to speak. Your microphone needs to always be on mute unless you are giving testimony at the appropriate time. When you are called upon, you will be able to share your screen to display exhibits. The chat box is only for questions about the agenda. The merits of each case are not to be discussed in the chat box. For everyone joining us today in person, applicants may be seated at the center desk when the case is announced. Members of the public who would like to speak may approach the microphone on the podium that's located to the left of the seating area when the chair calls for public testimony. If you are in person, there is no need for you to be on the Zoom meeting as well. Joining the meeting in both manners causes a lot of unnecessary feedback and audio disruptions. We ask that you silence or mute all of your electronic devices and be quiet when entering and exiting the hearing room. The Commission has established time limits for all testimony during the meeting. You'll be given 2 minutes to testify when speaking as an individual, or 5 minutes if you represent an organization such as a neighborhood association, HOA, CID, or business association. Those are all of our procedures.
Okay, thank you. Let's go ahead with our consent agenda items, please. Looks like we have one.
Consent docket has one item. Item C1 is case CD CPC 2026-51. A request to approve an MPD final plan for Lot 1 of Phase 1 of the Parade Park Master Plan Development for 2 buildings with approximately 187 residential units, associated parking, and amenity areas on about 2.96 acres, generally located at the northeast corner of East 18th Street and Woodland Avenue. Staff recommends approval with conditions.
Okay, any questions from the commissioners regarding docket item C1? Seeing none, let's open it up for public testimony. If there's anybody that would like to speak regarding C1, please come forward or raise your hand using the Zoom feature and you will be called upon.
There don't appear to be any hands raised online, although my Zoom screen looks a little odd.
Okay, we'll close public testimony then, and I'll take a motion.
I move to approve docket item C1 with conditions.
Second.
Motion and a second for approval of docket item C1. Margaret, can you take roll call on that motion, please?
Harkin.
Aye.
Crowell.
Aye.
Enders.
Aye.
Forbes.
Aye.
That motion passes. Let's move on to the regular docketed items, beginning with those that want to continue to a future date.
Continuances begin with docket item number 12, case CD SUP 2025-39. A request to approve a special use permit to allow for used vehicular sales in District B3-2 on about 0.6 acres, generally located at the southeast corner of East Bannister Road and Holmes Road. This is a change from the printed docket. Staff recommends continuance with fee to August 5th. Docket item number 13 is case CD SUP 2026-20. A request to approve a special use permit for gasoline and fuel sales establishment in an M1-5 zoning district on about 0.314 acres, generally located at 840 North Montgall Avenue. Staff recommends continuance without fee to July 15th. And docket item number 4 is case CD CPC 2026-57, a request to approve a major amendment to a previously approved development plan in District B4-5 to allow for the expansion of a self-storage facility on about 6.7 acres, generally located at the northwest corner of Northwest Prairie View Road and Northwest Donovan Drive. Staff recommends continuance without fee to July 15th.
Okay, any questions from the commissioners regarding continuance of docket items 12, 13, or 14? Okay, let's open it up for public testimony. If anybody would like to speak regarding the continuance of docket items 12, 13, or 14, please come forward or raise your hand using the Zoom feature and you'll be called upon.
Care to be hands raised online?
Sounds good. We'll close public testimony then, and I'll take a motion, please.
Chair Corrali, move to continue docket item 12 with fee to August 5th and to continue docket items 13 and 14 without fee to July 15th.
Second.
Motion and a second for continuance of those docketed items. Margaret, can you take roll call, please?
Parkin,
Aye.
Crowell,
Aye.
Enders.
Aye.
Forbes.
Aye.
All right, looks like that motion passes then. All right, let's move to docket item number 1.
Docket item number 1 is case CD CPC 2026-56, amending section 88-445-09 and section 88-445-11, expanding the eligibility regarding council-approved signage plans. And Andy Clark is our guest star today from Project Administration.
Good morning, Chairman Crowell, fellow commissioners. Andy Clark, City Planning and Development. As Sarah stated, the Project Administration Division has been working collaboratively with Development Management on these text amendments, which are being sponsored by 6th District leadership, Councilwoman Boo and Councilman Duncan. All right, before us is CDCPC 2026-56. There are 2 proposed amendments that are being sponsored by council. The first one is section 88-445-09. This pertains to signs within a pedestrian overlay. On the screen right now is what sign types are currently prohibited within a PO zoning district. The proposed text amendment in blue states that notwithstanding this prohibition, monument signs may be approved through a council-approved signage plan. Only monument signs, not electronic, digital, or motorized signs, changeable copy, outdoor advertising, those would still be prohibited. Section 88-445-11 pertains to council-approved signage plans. This body has seen a few of these in the last few years. The intent of this section in the zoning code is to allow for a unified architectural statement, flexibility, and it's typically used for large or unique developments. Council-approved signage plans require 10 contiguous acres. So it always is on a larger development. Right now, the zoning code, the applicability for a council-approved signage plan outlined in red are the zoning districts they are permitted, as well as the D, which is downtown, SC, Shoal Creek, and KCIA at the airport, including up north and downtown. Below is a screenshot from the zoning code. And one thing that does occur every once in a while is a customer may reach out about, oh, I want to do a council approved signage plan and I'll just rezone my property to be more intense. So this proposed amendment would eliminate individuals from rezoning to a higher zoning district that allows more intense uses in a neighborhood by adding B1 and B2 zoning districts to the applicability. That is the proposed amendment to 88-445-11. Only adding B1 and B2. Still has to be a contiguous area of 10 acres or more. And council-approved signage plans do require the consent of all property owners. You can't be one property owner with 1 acre and propose a council-approved signage plan without all property owners within that area consenting. Pedestrian oriented overlay districts, there are only 2 within the entire city. There's one in the Marlboro area that runs along Paseo. And then the other one is in Brookside, bounded by Warnell and Maine on the east and west, and then just about 1 block north and south of 63rd Street. A quick analysis of potential impact on this text amendment. Right now, taking B1 and B2 zoning districts across the city where they are contiguous, more than 10 acres, this would open up 18 areas to being eligible to apply for a council-approved signage plan. As I mentioned, it requires property owner consent for that application type. And out of those 18 areas, only 6 of them have an ownership that would exceed 10 acres, a single property owner. And as I stated earlier, there are only 2 existing pedestrian-oriented districts within the city. Just a scatter analysis here for you to see where they exist. This is south of the river. There's a large, on the right side of the screen, there's a Lowe's and a Walmart right there on State Line. And both those sites are over 10 acres. And then also at 99th and Holmes, we have an area of 10 contiguous acres. But on the left, there is no single property owner that has more than 10 acres. Another analysis looking in the southeast quadrant of the city. And then as we move up north, the one on the left is where the old Foundation CID is. There's also a Sprouts up here, the Tuileries, Tremont neighborhood. These are very large parcels that are over 10 acres. And again, more analysis at Berry and North Oak in the blue here. That's where the Price Chopper is located. And then on the right is where the movie theater is located. I was just trying to show in a city of 320 acres, there's only 18 sites that this would open the eligibility to. Also, the PO districts, like I said, there's only 2 of them. And a monument sign, what we're already seeing in the city, this would be considered a monument sign. At the city market and at T-Mobile Center, I couldn't think of any other good examples within our city limits. I only like to show what's happening within our boundaries in a presentation. But right now, a sign like this would be prohibited within a pedestrian overlay. Staff does believe that the pedestrian overlay still, not believes, but for a fact, it still has to be set back 10 feet from the public right-of-way. So the setback would still have to incorporate line of sight and any ADA issues. Staff's recommendation on this council-sponsored text amendments is approval. And that concludes my presentation.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the commissioners? Okay, let's open it up for public testimony. If anybody would like to speak regarding docket item 1, please come forward or raise your hand using the Zoom feature and you will be called upon.
You have someone raise their hand online, Craig Moria.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Good morning, everyone. My name is Craig Moria, Craig Morea. I live at 2308 East Red Bridge Road in South Kansas City. In 2007, I was a supporter of an organization called the Citizens Against Billboard Blight. It was a grassroots organization that popped up in response to the proliferation of billboards in South Kansas City. It was led by Carol Winterrode and with the help of John Regenbogen of Scenic, Missouri. An ordinance was passed, sponsored by Councilman John Sharp, to prevent and reverse visual blight caused by large and incompatible signage. Since that time, I have seen giant metal letter signs appear at tourist destinations throughout the Western Hemisphere. These signs bring an unwelcome sameness that detracts from the unique human scale character that attracts tourists to these destinations in the first place. I understand that the driving force behind this ordinance is a desire among some of the merchants of Brookside to place one of these giant letter signs in their quaint shopping district. And as the presentation just showed, it will open up other like zoned areas to such incompatible signage. So I am requesting that the commission vote against this proposal and defend Kansas City against the plague of giant metal letter signs. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else?
No other hands raised online.
Okay, I guess we'll close public testimony then.
Or did I?
Okay,
Is it all right?
yes, please, there.
Mr. Chairman and members of the Plan Commission, Jerry Riffle, Lathrop, GPM, 2345 Grand, Kansas City. I am representing the Brookside Shops Community Improvement District and First Washington Realty, which is the owner of the Brookside Shopping Center between 63rd Street and 62nd Terrace, including all the shops on the south side, except one, which is owned by David Block. And we're here in support of this ordinance. What I think this ordinance really does is extends good urban planning to the urban area, and the council approved signage plan as currently administered and is currently stated really is a suburban signage plan, not anything urban like Brookside. So Brookside has and is protected by a pedestrian-oriented district. As staff said, it's only one of two in the city. That puts some pretty strict standards on signage. That would not, in my opinion, permit anything such as been suggested in terms of a large letter. The type of monument sign that this would approve as an exception is much like, only smaller, what's at the River Market. And it also would encourage public art in a planned way, planned public improvements within the 10-acre district. It also would promote connections with the neighborhood and result, I can tell you in this particular case, strong economic development efforts and investments by both the new community improvement district and First Washington that would be unlikely to be well planned and well done otherwise. So we would respectfully request that you support what the council members have introduced and are sponsoring, and we agree with staff's position.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Okay, we'll close public testimony then. Out of those two public or POs, do those entities, do they kind of review these signs prior to them coming before city, or, you know, does that entity kind of sign off on them prior to them coming to the city for approval?
The pedestrian oriented overlays? No.
Okay. So anybody within that could put an application in and whatever sign that they would like to have to the council for approval.
Well, no, if you are just applying for a sign permit, that's just a normal sign permit application that then staff reviews. For a council approved signage plan, you would have to meet the council approved signage plan eligibility requirements, which is the 10-acre minimum size.
Okay.
And then that would, you all review those. You did one for Berkeley Riverfront in May.
Yeah.
And then it goes to council for approval. That approves the signage plan that then permits would be reviewed against that signage plan as sign permits are made.
Like in the Brookside PO, it wouldn't necessarily be an individual business that would put in an application for want to put a sign or lettering up. They'd have to be the actual association itself.
If a council approved signage plan were approved, then a
Yeah.
business who wanted a sign would make a sign permit application as they would today, and then it would be reviewed against the council approved signage plan for approval.
But the 10-acre thing would jeopardize that.
Right, so that would be an initial step, and they would have to meet the 10-acre minimum eligibility requirement to submit the council approved signage plan.
And also all business owners have to agree to, right?
All property owners
Part of this.
within the council approved signage, it's just like a rezoning.
Yeah.
You have to have property owner consent.
Yeah, okay. I'm just trying to understand the process. At Brookside, somebody at Brookside, Charlie Hooper wants to put up a sign of sorts at monument there, the process they would have to go through.
They would have to get property owners who own a minimum of 10 acres to agree to put forward a council approved
Okay.
signage plan for approval first.
So they could,
And then they could
Okay.
pull a permit if it, is in compliance with the council approved signage plan.
all right, so they would get their partners to get up to the 10 acres. Okay. Any other questions from the commission for the applicant? Okay, with that, anything else you have to add?
Nothing.
Yeah, I'll take a motion, please.
Chair Crowell, I move to approve docket item number 1 without conditions.
Second.
Got a motion and a second for approval of docket item number 1. Margaret, can you take roll call on that motion, please?
Harkin,
Aye.
Crowell,
Aye.
Enders.
Aye.
Forbes.
Aye.
All right, looks like the motion passes then. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, let's move to docket item number 2, please.
Docket item number 2 is case CD SUP 2026-30. A request to approve a special use permit for a building expansion in District R 2.5 on about 235.82 acres, generally located at 6800 Zoo Drive. Larissa Chambi is the staff planner.
All right, good morning.
Morning.
Yes. All right, I will share my screen and get started. Larissa Chambi, City Planning and Development. This is a special use permit for an expansion to the education building at the Kansas City Zoo at 6800 Zoo Drive. This is the subject location, should be fairly familiar to everyone in the room. And then a closer look at the site. And then at zooming in, I've highlighted the building that is going to be expanded. This is the education building. The applicant is proposing a 15,463 square foot addition. There's 2 stories, and they're also proposing a new golf cart parking area. And then you can see the darker shaded gray is those pedestrian access points that will be replaced. The applicant also provided a tree planting plan and the understory planting plan. This landscaping does match the surrounding exhibits. And then elevations for the addition were also provided. The addition is about 30 feet tall, but it is still shorter than the existing building. They're proposing metal wall panels, and they're still in compliance with the existing, or they're still compatible with the existing building. And then here is a look at that education building as of today. This expansion will allow for additional educational opportunities and outreach opportunities for the zoo. The applicant is complying with all aspects of the code, and there's no change in lighting, vehicular traffic, or hours of operation expected with this special use permit. And so with that, staff is recommending approval with conditions.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for city staff? All right, let's welcome the applicant. Good morning.
Thank you, Commission. My name is Andy Short. I'm with International Architects Atelier. So As city staff mentioned, the zoo is proposing to add a 15,000 square foot addition to their education building to increase the number of summer camps and camps during the year that they can present to the community. They're also trying to improve the entrance of field trip groups to allow for kind of streamlining the admissions process through that as well. So we worked with them to create a building that was in keeping with the existing character of that building. So it's on the back side of the education building. As
Can you pull
enter.
the microphone
Yep.
just a little closer to you?
Not a problem. Okay, so we create a building that's very harmonious with the existing building. It's connected to it. It provides additional doubles the amount of classroom space that they currently have. So advance next. Oh, I can do that. As already mentioned by staff, it's the zoo property is here. We've got the sort of dot there that shows where the education building is. Here's a plan showing the existing education building, the addition on kind of the southeast corner, which actually screens it from the sort of zoo entrance as well. There is some forested area here that the building will displace. And so we're adding quite a bit of new planting plan to do that. And then also adding some new animal exhibits as well to increase the zoo's presence on that site. Already seen this image, but basically the kind of behind the existing education building, that's where the addition will be located. And then this is a view from the south, from within the zoo of the addition. We have sort of a dark bronze metal panel that's in keeping with the existing dark painted wood. And then we have the wood structure that's up at the top that also matches the existing education building. And then as you enter the zoo, there's a currently existing swan exhibit that you can see here that'll be upgraded as part of this. And then you can see the addition here up against the existing building over here. I think the rest of the presentation is the elevations and the planting plan that staff has already shared, but I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, thank you. Probably have to ask one of previous Commissioner Beasley's questions. What's the time frame?
So they are looking to get started almost immediately. So we're looking to move forward.
Hope it's get open by next summer or?
So basically the construction is being accomplished in two phases. So phase one will be the addition portion. So that'll be zoo staff offices and the classrooms. So that'll be open by next May. And then the renovation of the existing facility would add some multi-purpose space for public, and that would be open by the end of the year.
Gotcha. Thank you. Any questions for the applicant?
Are there going to be any exhibits that are going to be made smaller?
Nope.
No?
This
Okay.
is all using land that's just currently kind of forested off to the side of the existing building.
Okay. And then I'm assuming that the golf cart parking areas is for operations, correct?
Yeah, the zoo, kind of runs around the staff runs around in those golf carts. Currently, the golf carts are sort of parked just along a asphalt drive that connects to the education building. So we're trying to create a spot that's screened for public view, but also allows those golf carts to be charged and accessible from the zoo staff.
Thank you.
Okay. No more questions, I take it? Okay. At this time, let's open it up for any public testimony. If there's anybody out there that would like to speak regarding docket item 2, please come forward or raise your hand using the Zoom feature and you'll be called upon.
Have a hand raised online from L. Falk, who's voted to panelist.
Okay.
We'll need to accept the promotion to panelist in order to speak. They've declined to be promoted to panelist. So
Okay. All right. Anybody else then?
no, that was the only hand.
Okay, let's close testimony then. Anything else you'd like to add at this time?
No, not if
All
you don't have any
the
questions.
conditions and everything, you okay with those?
Correct.
All right. With that, I'll take a motion, please.
I move to approve docket item number 2 with conditions.
Second.
Got a motion and a second for approval of docket item number 2. Margaret, can you take roll call on that motion, please?
Perkin,
Aye.
Crawl,
Aye.
Enders.
Aye.
Forbes.
Aye.
In fact, the motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
All right, let's move to docket item 3, please.
Docket item number 3 is case CD SUP 2026-27. A request to approve a special use permit in District DC-15 for the reuse of an officially designated historic landmark as a hotel on about 0.3 acres generally located at the northwest corner of Grand Boulevard and East 9th Street. Justin Smith is the staff planner for this case.
Right. Good morning, Commissioners. Justin Smith, City Planning and Development. Give me 1 second to get my presentation pulled up. All right, in front of you is docket item number 3. This is a special use permit for the U Music Hotel located at 818 Grand and 819 Walnut Street. The subject site is located within the 4th District in the downtown area within the boundaries of the Greater Downtown Area Plan. Closer look at the site. The Scarrett Building is located on the northwest corner of East 9th Street and Grand Boulevard, and the arcade is located just off Walnut. Just a little history on the Scarrett Building and arcade. It was constructed in 1907, placed on the National Historic Registry in 1971, and went through a $14 million restoration project in the 80s. The proposal today is to utilize this building as a 169-unit hotel and amenity space on the top floor, which does meet the Boulevard and Parkway standards, and that is the only addition that will be occurring to the hotel other than the interior renovation. And the reason you're seeing it today is because, one, a special use permit is required for a hotel on a boulevard, and for the reuse of a historic structure when the proposed use is not just outright allowed. So part of the site plan is no off-street parking is provided or required. There will be a reconfiguration of a portion of Grand to include valet parking. If you look at the hotel directly to the south, they also have the valet lane. That's kind of what it would look like. There's minimal area for landscaping. The applicant has provided metal planter boxes along 9th Street. Here's just a couple renderings of the arcade and the Scarrett Building. Here's a view from the corner of East 9th and Grand, and then a view off Walnut. So with that, staff does recommend approval subject to conditions of the special use permit, and I can answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the commission? All right, let's welcome the applicant. Good morning.
Hi, Brian Crawford with Hafer Walker, the architect.
I'm Katie Rayner with Kimley Horn, civil engineer.
I'm Travis Torres, representing BR companies.
Okay. Anything else you'd like to add from the staff presentation?
No, I don't believe we have anything else.
Okay. How long is the special use permit? Is it like forever or is it?
Yeah, we did not put a time limit on this, just because it is it's gonna, we'd hate for them to restore this building and then not get a special use permit again.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great building. I used to have an office in there, so been in there many years. So anyways, all right, with that, let's open it up for public testimony. If there's anybody out there that would like to speak regarding docket item 3, please come forward or raise your hand using the Zoom feature and you'll be called upon.
No hands raised online.
Okay. Nobody wants to jump up? Okay. We'll close public testimony then. Anything else you'd like to add at this time? What's your schedule on this one?
We're currently working through design right now, so hopefully once we get to that point, about 2 years of construction.
Okay.
Are we anticipating, so obviously hotel, but are we anticipating
ground level being purely hotel use or more public, like a restaurant type of deal?
Yeah, ground level will be a restaurant that's open to the public.
Gotcha. Pretty neat building.
All right, with
many-
that,
I was gonna ask one question.
go ahead.
How many planned rooms do you guys have? Or
169.
I'll take a motion, please.
Chair Crowley, I move to approve docket item number 3 with conditions.
Second.
Motion and a second for approval of docket item number 3. Margaret, can you take roll call on that motion, please?
Arkin,
Aye.
Crowell,
Aye.
Enders.
Aye.
Forbes.
aye.
It looks like the motion passes in. Thank you very much. Yep, good luck.
Excited to see it.
What's that?
Excited to see it.
Yeah, me too. It's been a while. All right, docket item number 4, please.
Docket item number 4 is case CD CPC 2026-66, a request to approve a development plan to allow multiple principal uses, including retail and light equipment sales rental on one lot in District B3-2 on about 4.5 acres, generally located at 2201 Northwest Berry Road. And Alec Gustafson will be presenting this case on behalf of Genevieve.
There, I believe. Have you admitted Jake Butler?
I'll promote Jake Butler to panelist.
Okay, good morning, Commission. My name is Alec Gustafson, presenting on behalf of Genevieve Consmith. This is docket item number 4, CD CPC 2026-66, the development plan non-residential for Tractor Supply. The subject site is located just off Berry Road in the Line Creek area plan. Here's an overall view of the site off of Northwest Berry Road and then directly west of North Platte Purchase. The site is the old Joanne Fabrics location, now to be a Tractor Supply company. It is the proposed uses are for retail sales for the Tractor Supply company business and light equipment sales / rental outdoor for the fenced outdoor display area for tractors to be displayed outside. All uses are permitted in the B3 zoning district. The reason we're going forward with the development plan is the 2 uses on the one site. They are proposing landscaping and screening. These are just some examples of the proposed landscaping and then the fence types. The fences, some of these fences are expected to be around the permanent trailer and equipment display area to the south, or I guess northeast of the site. This is the colored elevation of Tractor Supply Company. Pretty standard for Tractor Supply Company buildings. This is a view towards the site from Northwest Berry Road, seeing it as the former Joanne Fabrics. This is the private road that goes towards Joanne off Northwest Berry Road. The view north towards the site from the private access road. And staff recommended approval with conditions. I can answer any questions that you may have.
Well, the fenced in areas that's going to be used for sales display of various size
The larger.
tractors and lawnmowers and whatever else.
Correct.
Yeah, I was looking at the at least the fence types that I'm seeing are privacy. So I see the gates are that way, but if you look down, I believe those are what the actual fence types would be, right?
Correct.
So you're not gonna be able to see any of it from the, okay.
Any other questions for city staff? Okay, let's welcome the applicant. Good morning.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, my name is Patricia Jensen. This is actually right in front of my neighborhood, and our neighborhood president is here to speak in support of it too. His name is Wayne St. Vincent. Jake Butler is on the phone or online. He is with Tractor Supply. This is a great use of the Joann's building because that Joann's building is 70,000 square feet. You don't fill that without having a large user for that site. You don't break that building up into individual rental or smaller places. So this is a great solution for our neighborhood. There is also some outlots out front. And I don't have a presentation because we're in agreement with all the conditions that are owned by Andrew Danner. And he is very much in favor of it because he can't fill those outlots without having an occupied business that operates. So we would request you recommend approval, and we agree with all the conditions that are placed on the staff report.
What's going to be for sale on there? I mean, is it all just tractors?
Jake?
Yeah, hey, how are you? Good morning. Thank you for the time today. So Tractor Supply does what they call store localization, which what that means is that if you went to a Tractor Supply in far western Texas, it would be much geared towards cattle, horses, hay, forage, things like that. When Tractor does what they call suburban stores, which is what this would be, they localize it much more towards pet owners. So it will mainly be geared towards pet food, pet supplies, pet toys, things of that nature, rather than kind of the farm and ranch. So Tractor Supply's highest SKU is pet food and pet supplies. So that's really what they're geared towards. They actually do not sell any tractors. They sell small zero-turn lawn mowers, but besides that, it's mainly household animal supplies.
Jake, Chairman Krau's question is, what's going to be contained in the outdoor area behind the fence?
Got it. Yeah. So
not what's in the store.
Yeah, that will mainly be their like log splitters, things like that. Some of their larger items that are a little bit tougher to fit inside the store. So like log splitters. I think they have some fencing material, things like that.
Okay.
Will there be any lawn and garden in there too?
I do not believe so, no, sir.
Just popped up. Are you guys also selling like storage sheds, things like that? Will that be on the property?
No, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions for the applicant? All right, let's open it up for public testimony. If anybody out there would like to speak regarding docket item number 4, please come forward or raise your hand using the Zoom feature and you'll be called upon. Good morning.
Morning. My name is Wayne St. Jensen. I live at 8241 North Marston. I'm on the board of the subdivision right behind it. We've talked to the applicants and we're in agreement with what they've done. It fits very well with our neighborhood and we don't think there's a problem with any of it. There were a couple of questions from a resident in the neighborhood who lives almost adjacent to the property that we're talking about. I think those questions were answered. They were more of a, how do you pick up trash? Are you going to keep the lot clean? That kind of thing. But I think they were answered successfully. So the board is in agreement with what the proposal is.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else?
We had a hand raised online from John Boyle.
That's the neighbor that
Okay.
Wayne was referring about.
Still there? Okay.
Mr. Boyle, you can go ahead. We can't hear you. Might check your microphone setting.
I do have a letter that was prepared by the Boyles.
It was in the
Okay.
staff report.
We can hear you now.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate your time today, ladies and gentlemen. So I am John Boyle, and as Mr. Wayne St. Vincent mentioned, I am immediately proximate to the property, about 150 feet, in fact. So I previously submitted that letter, and I do appreciate that Tractor Supply did answer the questions, but my intent, I hope, is to get it codified into those conditions as, although that may be the store's policy not to operate outside the hours of 07 and 1900 right now, that may not be the case in 5 or 10 or 20 years, where I do hope to remain. In part of that letter, I was requesting all operations to include deliveries, loading, unloading, trash collection, and compaction be limited to the hours of 07 and 1900. And not being fluent or having seen all the conditions, I would respectfully request that these be considered to be codified in those conditions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I don't believe we would have any issues with placing it on the plan, but it becomes a question of enforcement because this is certainly outside the inspector's business hours generally.
We inspect things outside business hours.
Okay. Anybody else?
I was the only hand online.
Okay, we'll close public testimony then. Anything else you'd like to add this time?
No.
Okay,
Because the applicant's open to it, do you want to repeat what condition you'd be open to?
That was the letter that was incorporated. One says restrict deliveries, loading, unloading, refuse collection, and outdoor material handling to the hours of 7 to 9. The second is restrict idling of trucks or equipment prior to 7 a.m. or after 9 p.m. Third is require all dumpsters and refuse areas to remain enclosed and regularly serviced to prevent overflows, odors, and windblown debris. Fourth is restrict use of any PA system, notification system, or audible alert systems from 7 to 9. And the fifth is we require effective litter control measures and prompt cleanup of trash or debris that leaves the property.
Right, and the applicant's fine with all
Yeah.
of those notes?
Yeah,
Okay.
we don't have an issue with those.
All right, Chair Corral, I move to approve docket item number 4 with conditions, asking the applicant to work with city staff to incorporate the additional conditions as shared in the letter from the public to staff and as read just now.
Second.
okay, I've got a motion and a second for approval of docket item number 4 with the addition of the condition as stated. Margaret, can you take roll call on it? Motion, please?
Merkin,
Aye.
Crowell,
Aye.
Enders.
Aye.
Forbes.
Aye.
All right, looks like the motion passes then. Thank you very much. All right. Let's move to docket item 5. Do we need a little short break before we do this? Because I think we got most people here for that. I'd just like to fill up my coffee as we're getting started.
Want to take like.
So if you want to get started, I'll be right back. I'm gonna fill us up.
I'll wait for you to come back.
Okay. Like 5-minute break then or something like that. Thank you.
Oh.
Well, I got there like
7:50.
Yeah.
Plus your job too.
It is the worst. And then they couldn't get the vein, so I had to get my hand. Yeah. Right. Only seemed like one.
Okay, actually really good. I was like, yep. We're ready.
Item number 5.1 is case CD CPC. Sorry, docket item 5.1 is case CD CPC 2026-46. A request to approve an amendment to the Midtown Plaza area plan from mixed-use neighborhood to mixed-use community on about 2.25 acres generally located south of East 49th Street between Main Street and Walnut Street. Docket item 5.2 is case CD CPC 2026-45. A request to approve a rezoning from District R 1.5 to District B4-5 on about 2.25 acres generally located south of East 49th Street between Main Street and Walnut Street. And docket item 5.3 is case CD CPC 2026-44. A request to approve a development plan for an entertainment venue in District B4-5 on about 2.2 acres generally located south of East 49th Street between Main Street and Walnut Street. Matt Barnes is the staff planner filling in for Genevieve Consmith.
Good morning, Chair Cowell and Commissioners. Matthew Barnes filling in for Genevieve, as just stated. Let me share my screen real quick. Here with docket item number 5, which is the area plan amendment, rezoning and development plan for 4901 Main Street development. As I said, at 4901 Main Street is where it's located within the 6th Council District. This is within the Midtown Plaza area plan. Here is a closer view yet. You can see 49th Street running east-west, just north of the site, as well as Main Street to the west. For reference, the Plaza Library is just north of here. South, you have the CVS, Mildred's, etc. down there. Here is just a view looking south from East 49th Street. You can see that the site is currently undeveloped. This is looking southwest. This is where the former UMB Bank was located. Just looking west from Walnut Street, there was also some apartments that were. The site is currently for the area plan as mixed-use neighborhood. The applicant is requesting a area plan amendment to mixed-use community to bring the site into conformance with the B4 zoning district. Mixed-use neighborhood corresponds with the B2 zoning district. So 2 of the 3 parcels are zoned B4-5. The request is to rezone the 3rd parcel, which is currently split zone between R1.5 and B4-5 to B4-5. This will bring all 3 parcels, which will be later consolidated into one zoning district. The applicant is proposing a 80,000 square foot entertainment venue. The main entrance for the site will be off of 49th and Main. They're including materials include metal panels, cast concrete, decorative LED lighting, and glass curtain walls. Here is a couple of renderings of that site. The entrance area is on the left side of the screen. A few more renderings here. There is 64 parking spaces on site. The applicant might be able to speak more on who and what capacity those will be used for. There's also a drop-off location on site at the southwest corner, kind of that area. This site does not include or require any parking as is within the urban core, but they have identified off-site parking. So there is 1,400 in the blue that is available to them, as well as additional lots in the area. With that, staff recommends approval of the area plan amendment, approval of the rezoning, and approval subject to conditions of the development plan. We can take any questions.
Okay, any questions from the commission? Trying to get my map pulled up here.
I didn't. I don't think I see elevations. What is the, maybe I missed it. What's the height
Maybe one
or
second.
proposed height?
Yes, 74.5 feet. The applicant just provided.
Let's go ahead and welcome the applicant. There's
Yeah,
probably
I've got more questions.
several questions. Okay. Morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Charles Renner with Hush Blackwell, part of the project team. With me here today is our leader, Danny Beckley, President and CEO of the Kansas City Symphony, Brian Marakian with Populous. We also have Jeff Mercaro with Kimley Horn. I expect you'll hear from everybody in a presentation that we'll make. And we have additional members of the project team here as well. So hopefully we'll kind of be able to answer some of the questions that have already come up. First, want to thank city staff and Genevieve, who's not here in particular. We've been working with the staff, the community, and the project team for many months and are able to be in front of you with this application with the staff recommendation and support. I did want to just touch base on two things real quick before we get into the presentation. One, we accept all conditions. So we're asking for approval of all three matters subject to the conditions that are in the staff report. And of note, one of the conditions is an ongoing events management plan. And so some of what you will hear today is not just the project development, but also operations. And an events management plan really is a living document that goes throughout operations for moving people in and out of the corridor during events in an efficient way. So we have a plan for that, but the benefits of an event management plan is it's ongoing. And so our intent and plan and requirement with the city is that to the extent we've got exactly what we need going in, that's great. To the extent there are adjustments for moving people in and out of the corridor, the governance of that events management plan will govern. And so what we would like to do is go through a presentation of the application and our plan in front of you. We'll touch base on that events management plan as well, but that's really something that is going to be a living with operations document, and we're open to all input as we go. So with that, Danny?
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Danny Beckley. I'm the president and CEO of the Kansas City Symphony, and this is a project that we've been pursuing now for quite some time. We evaluated sites all over the metro and settled on this site based on conversation with the city and based on conversation with the neighborhood. And so we began engaging with the neighbors before we selected this site, wanting to know that we would be welcome in the community. Certainly, this is an ideal location from our standpoint, from a standpoint of abundant parking that is controllable and empty at the times that we would need it. From a standpoint of traffic, multiple points in and out of this space. And of course, most importantly, from a standpoint of it enlivens an already healthy community, one that has lots of restaurants, that has an active nightlife, but is lacking an anchor. And this is a venue that will provide a much needed anchor to the entire Country Club Plaza district and the South Plaza area as well. If we could pull up the presentation. And so we've engaged, the first slide shows Charles O'Field Drive. Thank you. The first, you can move on. While they're pulling that up, I'll describe the venue. This is a venue that does not exist in Kansas City today. We have music venues that are very, very large. Indoor arena at the T-Mobile Center. We have the new Morton Amphitheater. Both of these are in the 20,000 capacity range. And we have venues that are very small, repurposed vaudeville theaters that seat between 1,500 and 2,500 people. But we don't have a venue like this. And the reason is that this is a new kind of venue that's been coming up around the country. And Brian Marakian is here with me with Populous, and he'll talk about the landscape for this in a moment. But these venues are really about a 10-year-old invention. They started in Washington, D.C. and started moving west from there. And they're in cities all over from Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, Nashville, Denver, and Kansas City will be the only venue of this kind in a multi-hundred-mile region. The Symphony is pursuing this because while our home is at the Coffin Center for the Performing Arts, and it always will be, that is a building that was really built for a symphony orchestra in Hellsberg Hall. But what it doesn't have is the opportunity to really present heavily amplified programs or programs that will attract a large number of people. Hellsberg Hall, which is our primary home, seats 1,600, and when we're doing certain kinds of programming, that is reduced to 1,300. And so we have to do many performances over the course of a week or more to satisfy market demand. And frankly, we don't even have time to satisfy market demand. And so thus many of these performances are either sold out and or sold at a very high ticket price just because of supply and demand. And so this venue gives us the opportunity to broaden the number of people that we serve by having more people in one space at one time. This first slide shows the public engagement that we've done prior to selecting this site and after we selected the site. Really wanting to be very, very good neighbors to everyone that's around us. We've met with different organizations, including the Plaza District Council, the South Plaza Neighborhood Association, the other neighborhood association to the south. And then we met with business owners, wanting to make sure that this would fit in their vision for what they have. And so between all of the different condo associations and the neighborhood associations that we met with, we received overwhelming support, a surprising amount of support, if I'm honest. to this idea. And so we did select this site to move forward with. We can move to the next slide. This shows the programming that we'll do. We are imagining 125 events per year. A small number of those will be the symphony orchestra itself. Most of our programs will remain at the Coffin Center, but what we're doing here is presenting music of all kinds. The symphony, as most orchestras are, is the largest presenter of music of any kind in this region. And so it makes sense for us to expand that into all genres, not only orchestral. And in doing so, we provide a revenue source for the symphony to support its nonprofit mission. 125 events per year, 80 of those will be shows of various sizes that are presented by our partner, Music and Events Management, which is owned by a peer organization, the Cincinnati Symphony Orchestra, that has started building and supporting venues like this all over the country. And the other events, 25 of these will be symphony shows, and then another will be a smaller number. Only a small subset of these are the full capacity, 4,640 participants. And these shows are really a general admission style, and that doesn't fit every show, where the audience is on their feet on the floor and you have people seated in the balconies. So that's where we get the full capacity. The symphony shows are almost all going to be fully seated. That capacity is 3,400 people. And so this represents that only a subset will be the full capacity, but that is what we're planning for, these full capacity shows. And so most of the events that we do at this venue will be smaller than that. And so there will be more than sufficient capacity from a standpoint of traffic, parking, and all the rest, because we're planning for Easter Sunday, as it were. We're planning for the biggest shows. I'd now like to hand it to Brian Marakian with Populous.
One question, can I ask? Can you explain what heavily amplified programs are? Is that like Metallica or Godsmack, or is that?
You know, in that category, I'm even including a group like the Temptations, which relies on anything more than slightly amplified. And so this is most contemporary music today, is what I would put in really relying heavily on speakers and microphones.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Danny. And I would just add to that briefly that, you know, it'll be home to comedy shows and, you know, across genres, including community, you know, events and, you know, corporate events and things along those lines. So the venue itself is designed to really accommodate a wide spectrum of event programming throughout the year. As Danny mentioned, it is a 4,600 capacity venue. And overall, the design is intended and envisioned to be very compatible with the neighborhood. We've really taken a lot of attention to ensure that this is compatible with the South Plaza neighborhood. And you know, ultimately what we have, you know, tried to accomplish here is to continue the ongoing renaissance of what's happening on the plaza, and really take full advantage of what has been a vacant parcel for the better part of the last 4 years. It was the former U.S. Bank building, which was a 4-story building, which resided on that corner. This project will be very similar in size and scale. In reality, it's about 75,000 square feet. It will be internally an auditorium with a atrium space located on the northwest corner, which where most of the architectural glazing will be located. But it's very pedestrian focused and compatible from a scale perspective with the neighborhood. We've been very intentional about that. So why don't we move through a few of the slides showing some of the inspiration. As you can see, this is the corner from 49th and Main. The building will have, as I mentioned, some glazing at the main entry. The skin of the building will be a profiled metal skin with kind of a nice warm bronze appearance, and some architectural lighting, which will activate the building, especially on an event night. So you're seeing, why don't we go to the next few slides? This is so this is the southwest corner. And you're looking down Main Street in this vantage point. If we go to the next, please. This is a view of the north facade. So if you're familiar with the site, the public library is just to the north of this location. So this is looking along 49th Street. And then let's go to the next slide. And this is looking on the east elevation. One thing to point out, in which we can go into a little bit more details, this location is just a few blocks now from the public transit trolley line, which connects to UMKC. So there will be some pedestrian access. So walking to the building alongside the parking, which will be situated in the adjacent parking garages. This is a view internally in the building in the auditorium. As Danny mentioned, there will be a flat floor in the venue, which will provide a lot of different flexibility options for seated events and standing events. The remainder of the auditorium will be seated, including one mezzanine and two balconies. And the stage is a very innovative design, which will allow not only for, again, contemporary shows, but will allow us to fit the capacity of a 90-piece orchestra within a movable screen, which will allow for the viewing of cinema and then also be compatible for additional event programming. So we're just kind of showing here the wide variety of the types of events that will be inside the auditorium. Let's go to the next, please. And go to the next. And so this is a view from the stage itself. So this is what we call a architectural building section, which of course you're familiar with, but shows the scale internally of the building. As I mentioned, the flat floor provides a lot of different options, not only from standing to seating to banquet events. And then from a seating perspective, all of the fixed seating will be above in a mezzanine opposite a stage, and then balconies to each side. One thing to point out from an access standpoint, which I'll point out in a moment, most of the audience will arrive at the mid point in the building and the mezzanine, within the option to basically traverse up into the venue or down to the event level. There's been a lot of focus on creating a really great fan experience, really great customer experience, as well as a best-in-class experience for the performers and for the musicians. And as Danny said, we've been very careful to ensure that we have full support from the local community. We've talked to a number of the business owners that are ecstatic that audiences will be able to patronize their businesses before and after an event. As you can see here in this plan, as I mentioned previously, most of the access in the building from a customer standpoint will happen on that northwest corner. But just to point out, there will be some improvements to streetscape and some of the adjacent parking directly on site. It'll really help clean up that corner of the neighborhood, candidly. Okay, let's go to the next, please. So this is a diagram that shows how we would load the building, in particular on an event night. So there will be some queuing that will happen along Main Street and along 49th as you enter into the main lobby. Let's go to the next one, please. And then this is showing where some of the additional parking in the structured parking would be located. And Jeff is, I believe, going to speak to this.
Thank you, Brian. Jeff McCarroll with Kimley Horn, 805 Pennsylvania. I guess the engineer is not at the table, but that's okay. We took a look at the site and really evaluated the parking demands. And as Danny mentioned, we really tried to plan for a maximum event and saw the need for about 1,400 parking spaces. That's conservatively parked with about 2.5 people per vehicle, if you will. And recognize the locations and the adjacent garages that were available. Again, most of these activities occurring in the evening outside of office hours when a lot of this parking becomes viable. Of note, the parking for at the Casey Library site there to the north is not the library parking. It is the office parking that is underneath that. So the library parking still remains open for those patrons. Go to the next slide there. One of the things we looked at when we saw this site really was that overall the infrastructure was there to support it. But from an event management standpoint, the ability to separate vehicles and pedestrians as they entered this site You'll see on this map, the dashed line is pedestrian flow. The heavier lines are traffic flow to come into those garages. The next slide shows them leaving as well. Being able to separate pedestrians and vehicles just makes everything flow smoother. They don't overlap through those areas. But for this site to be successful, one of the things we did recommend through this was an event management plan. As mentioned, it is dynamic. That's two of the stipulations are tied to that, to really not only keep traffic moving in and out of the site, but keep traffic from going into the neighborhoods that are nearby as well. So having event management crews there to direct traffic as they leave and exit the site, have as minimal disruption to those neighborhoods as possible. There has been, one of the conditions was to submit an event management plan. Symphony's partner on that has submitted that. The next slide shows an example of some of that information that is under review by the city now. And again, the critical element of that is that this is not a one size or one time document. This is a living document. So if we see trends or things that need adjusted, if additional control needs to be made to keep people out of the neighborhoods, there's that ability to recognize that and to implement that as needed.
On that note, so can you explain just a little bit further? You have people represented at all these intersections. So is the idea that for a max capacity event, there would actually be people at these intersections and preventing, would it be, hey, this is only local traffic. If you're going to the event, you do need to get in that long line, even though, you know, there's a shorter path through the neighborhood?
Yeah, so when you're talking about, well, one thing on parking, and I'm glad you brought that up, parking is actually part of the ticket. So when you purchase a ticket to come here, you've actually purchased parking as well that gets people in. That's one of the tools we do to make sure that everybody's coming to those right venues for parking. And those people are really event management staff, parking control. It could be off-duty policemen. Not sure you would need that at this location, but they're to help direct traffic and keep them moving into the site as efficiently as possible. And then from a pedestrian standpoint, it'll be the pedestrians that are really queued up along the street with good wide sidewalks to accommodate those.
Then recognizing that I'm not a traffic engineer and do not know how this works. I understand we like having a good street grid because it allows people to move lots of different areas and not create congestion with one path. So for example, since you all anticipate most people will be coming from the west based upon that drawing, the intent is to prohibit people from coming on West 48th or West 49th, even though they might think of that as a more direct path.
Yes, 49th in particular, if you're familiar, one of the things we had identified early working with the Symphony was that intersection as you go over towards Warnell and all the residential behind there. We don't want to put event traffic through there. We want to really redirect them and make sure that we have staff there that points them back towards Main Street, down to Ward Parkway and to Brookside Boulevard.
And so perhaps then the traffic control where it's illustrated here might actually need to be further west than on Warnell to say, hey, you're on the right path, stay on Ward Parkway. Don't come down Warnell and try to cut across any of these back streets.
Part of that element is also what the event management will do is kind of that need, what you need to know before you go type documentation, explaining to people how they come into the site, how they access their parking, and really flows in to control that. So that is intentional to educate people along those ways. That's also the ability that we have then for those, the fact that it is a dynamic living traffic control plan moving forward. If additional adjustments need to be made on 49th Street at Warnell, for instance, we could take those steps to make sure that's limited to local traffic.
And then lastly on traffic, because I'm not familiar with this type of plan, is it a, you know, financial commitment that's made, or what's the commitment in terms of resources committed, knowing that it might need to evolve over time?
I can respond to that. So part of that events management plan is just as you're talking about, Symphony paid personnel to manage inflow and outflow and to be consistent with the plan, or put differently, to staff appropriately to keep those assumptions in place. And so that would be part of our operations, and it's part of a budgeted cost. And if there's adjustments, which like there will be adjustments, staff increase on higher volume days, maybe early on, but those will all be budget commitments on our side.
Is that like a percent of anticipated revenue, or is it a formula based upon attendance?
We would, it obviously factors into operations costs, but it'll be staffing necessary to satisfy the events management plan. There wouldn't be a reduction in staff based on budget when the events management plan requires a certain amount of staffing.
Just because we're talking about the kind of this living document, how is it enforced? I guess if it's if it's something that's going to adjust over time, who's at the table?
So I would, probably staff can comment to that as well, but that's an actual city approved document, set of documents, plan, and then there are revisitation periods to go through. So we have our own interest in making sure we're efficiently moving people in and out of the corridor. But the plan, the events management plan is also a condition of what you're approving here. So there will be staff reviews on whatever appropriate cycle is to adjust that plan. It'll be a city government document. I'm not sure if staff wants to.
Yeah, staff, can you weigh in
comment
on that? Like, what's the review criteria? Who's on that panel? Like, how does that work?
I mean, that's Public Works condition. It does not appear that we have anyone from Public Works online.
If I might, it actually
Oh.
falls to the city traffic engineer.
Yeah, Jeff Bryan
Yeah.
has joined.
Yeah, sure.
ahead,
So,
Jeff.
yeah, can you hear me? Hope that,
Yes.
Yep, we can hear you, Jeff.
yeah, sure. I'm not, don't see a thing to turn on my camera, so I apologize. But yeah, Jeff Bryan, Public Works. And so, yeah, with the question, yeah, so like you said, the event management plan is an important piece of the puzzle, so to speak, for the site and everything. And so, yeah, there will be processes in place where not only for potential permits and things like that, where the traffic control plan will be reviewed and commented upon, and then pros and cons for the next event and things like that. So it becomes like I said, it is definitely a living document, but
Jeff, is it just you guys reviewing it, or is the heads of the neighborhood part of that? Like, who sits on that, or is it just a conversation between you and the tenant?
yeah, so it's primarily it'll be Public Works within permitting, and then with ourselves in traffic. So not to say that residents could obviously voice any concerns or questions they have to the city via 311 or other options, but yeah, primarily for the event management, it would be city staff.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Will there be a scheduled plan for review? Like on a set schedule, or just ad hoc?
It sounded like every event you would convene. That is what I just heard Jeff say, is that to see how it would have, how it worked and see if there was issues, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, so I think earlier on probably would be especially more meaningful to try to have some of those, let's say after events, to make sure if there's any lessons learned type of things, and then hopefully, after a couple of those, then get into more of the rhythm of things. But yeah, we can certainly work on scheduling of those discussions and meetings as we proceed.
Condition 20 also states that the owner shall also submit for review to Public Works permitting prior to each event, the traffic control plans, any permit applications or other event information needed for the given event. So
That's going to be continuous no matter what.
Yeah, let's let them go ahead and finish.
Yeah,
their-
no, we were.
Thank you, Jeff. So a
that's
word
fine.
about the operator. The Music and Events Management is a nonprofit owned by a nonprofit organization, and they have sold over 100 million tickets. They have been doing this for 40 years, and so they know how to manage these kind of things. They know how to respond and adapt to different neighborhoods and different size venues, much more challenging situations than we have here. So I'm quite confident in their ability and with the city to be able to work through this and iterate and improve over time.
Thank you. Now, go ahead.
Well,
Got more questions?
Question, how do you want to do this? I've got plenty. Do we want to do it before public
I know, let's
testimony?
make sure they're done with their presentation first.
We are. Yes, thank you.
Okay.
You want to do it before public testimony? Or
ahead.
after? Okay. You want to say,
Yeah, I'll start with a couple. I'm not actually concerned about traffic flow. I appreciate how much you all thought about it. You know, it's a area where it's already a lot of mixed uses, and if I'm a business owner on Main Street, I don't want to restrict my normal Tuesday night customer that much from the way that they drive through the neighborhood just because there's an event. So I'm not concerned, but it's interesting to hear about how you all are approaching it, and I think the approach is good. Two questions just based upon my inability to understand the documents that you all presented. It feels like there's my recollection of the site is that there's a huge grade change, and I was just curious because I couldn't understand from looking at the drawings. The loading dock, which will be obviously at street level where it hits, what's above the loading dock? Is it a building, or is it grass, or?
The loading dock is essentially sort of an appendage to the building. So it's serving the back of house, which will allow the vehicles to arrive into basically a gated garage, and there's a flat roof over the top of it. So it's just a low profile, which essentially just covers the service area. And then in its non-use times, the garage will be closed.
Yeah, could you go back to, actually, that was a good image. Keep on going. Oh, that's one. So that's where it looked like a flat roof. But then if we look from the east perspective, looking west, this one. So essentially, the roof is the lower, flatter line.
That's correct. Yes.
And then, so it looks like it's about the height of someone standing on the sidewalk. And so there'll just be flat roof.
It'll be a flat roof. Yeah. And so it's essentially kind of right underneath where you see the line between the precast concrete wall and where the metal skin begins.
Feels like an opportunity for something, just because it's so accessible. But okay.
We do
for the residents, because Walnut is more.
Yeah, I mean, just
residential,
for
so scale-wise.
planting or
Oh, I see
more
what you're
parking or.
Yep.
Okay, and then I know you all had mentioned it, but I just want to, I know it's in the documents, but if you could address the photometric study, and then also when the building would look as it does and what the spillover might be for any neighbors.
In terms of the renderings, those were taken, at a dusk time period. We anticipate that, if we do move forward with the type of exterior illumination as has been proposed, it will all be dimmable. It'll be on a programmable sort of LED system. So we are, working through the photometrics right now, but we can provide more information just in terms of the overall kind of light levels.
Yep. And then lastly, you all kind of went through the ingress plan. Could you also go through egress? Performing Arts Center is gorgeous, works when people arrive at different times, but when they all leave at the same time, especially if it's 2 rooms at once, and that's less people than would be here. Can you all kind of show the egress plan and talk about what that will look like?
We could pull that presentation up again. Again, Jeff McCarroll with Kimley Horn. So one of the elements of this plan is to actually make, the exits would also be guided by event management staff to prevent a kind of a free flow of traffic exiting the garage. 2 points of exit for both of the primary garages we're looking at. Coming out of the library, we can turn onto 49th Street and then onto Main. And then coming out of the bank building, that 500 space garage as well. Majority of that traffic would be coming up to 49th and going towards Ward Parkway. Again, those are managed by event management staff to keep that traffic moving and to keep them out of conflict with the pedestrians as they're exiting the site as well.
That was helpful to go through, and I was actually thinking about just people walking out of the venue, thinking about the central stair at the Performing Arts Center and wondering if because I know you have to control access in, but when people are walking out, could we go to that slide?
So if you go to the plan, I'm not sure which one it was. Yeah, we can pause. We could pause on that one. If we go back to the architectural floor plan. So the building is really evenly distributed in terms of where we have the capacities within the building itself. So on the event level, any audience member that will be on the event level will essentially use that large staircase to the north, right? So you'll be either using the stairs or the elevators. And you'll be exiting back through that main lobby. There's a set of doors up to the north and also to the west. So exiting will be happening at that location. And then if you're on the mezzanine or on the kind of upper seating, you'll also be utilizing that lobby space as well. So all of the egress will be happening basically at that 49th and main location. So, and then distributed from there.
So potentially, a sold out 4,600 person crowd will have to all go through that same. Is it worth considering exit only options that I feel like a lot of venues controlled access in, whether it's for security reasons, ticketing, but then exiting, you can kind of use multiple different exits, because I do find that the Performing Arts Center has a great experience going in, and then going out, you're kind of stuck on the central stair.
Yep.
And there an opportunity to create some extra exits?
We have some secondary exiting opportunities on the south side. It really is something that, is more in an emergency situation, but we could look at utilizing that as more of a secondary exiting strategy, especially off the event floor.
Yeah, I'd strongly encourage it, because again, people coming to an event usually space themselves out somewhat nicely. But I think it's difficult to clear thousands of people all at once, especially if they're coming from different levels, but all having to come through the same exit. Problematic.
Yeah. We feel as though, just through the exercises we've gone through and the modeling, that it will be sufficient. But I think it's a fair comment, and we can certainly look at a secondary opportunity, especially at the event level.
Okay. I've got a couple different groups. So I'm going to start one timeline and funding. What are we looking at as a hope for completion? How are we? Is it something that's funded? Is it something that you're looking to pass through, that you are working on funding? How are you guys with that?
So we have funding secured for the project. We are certainly wanting to raise as much of that funding as we can through philanthropy, but we have a banking relationship that covers it through debt. The project timeline would be to open in September of 2028.
Okay. Impressive. Okay, so that's one. Next up would be kind of impact, neighborhood impact, street impact, right of way, all those type of things. So I'm seeing this living plan, but is there any infrastructure, and maybe Public Works can weigh on this, like street lights, public infrastructure that needs to be upgraded to accommodate all this additional traffic into the building space-wise? Do we have any plan for that? Is that a city expense? Is that part of the project? How is that working? Sorry, I keep making you get up.
Sorry, get my exercise today. Actually, we found that the infrastructure is largely there today.
Okay.
We'll need to work with some of the signal timings as it goes through. But from that road, for the road perspective, moving traffic in and out, it's adequate with the event management staff.
Before I let you sit down, do we have a full traffic study of that, and with the numbers that would be coming in per event?
Yes, we actually looked at the peak event, and a traffic study was submitted to Public Works. It's been reviewed and approved. That looked at those conditions.
Okay. Does that incorporate the other part of that I have just some concerns, questions about is not only vehicular but pedestrian. So with type of events like this, right, especially at Coppin, you have a great large space out in front that you can convene with people. Scale wise, maybe I'm off, but that front north area doesn't seem like it would hold 1,000 people or something like that if they were to exit. So is there a strategic plan for that? Because right, you're normally waiting for people for an event to start. People are standing there. I mean, people are probably going to come walk from the plaza as well. So, is there a pedestrian plan in place for people convening prior to an event start or after an event?
Yeah, it's a good question. It is an urban building, right? So it's very comparable to, let's say, the Midland, right? Or what you would see in a major, city. It is 4,600 capacity. Fully acknowledge that it's a larger venue than like the Midland, but we believe that from a queuing standpoint, the areas are very sufficient in terms of the modeling that we've done along 49th and along Main. So it's a scenario where people will really, get into a line, access the building through a vestibule, and then distribute from there within the building. And we also believe that we have the sufficient distances allocated to exit the building properly as well too. It has not been designed to have a large entry plaza, though. It's a very, it's a compact, type of rational footprint that would be very similar to what you would see in an urban setting.
Yep. My only concern is, while a lot of those venues in the city core, you don't have a choice, right? We might have a little bit more of a choice here. So maybe looking into that, just because it is going to be a lot of flow onto that northern section before and after. So just, I trust that you guys are looking into that, but it's a lot of people.
Yeah.
For a small little convening area. And the plaza doesn't quite sit like a downtown venue where it would be right up next to it. So just my kind of thought. Sounds like there's been traffic study. Additionally, I've read through pretty much all of the public comment. So can you guys talk a little bit about neighborhood impact, what you guys have done through your conversations with the neighborhoods, and what has changed from the onset to kind of accommodate some of the neighborhood requests?
Well, certainly the neighborhood conversations going back, these started back in the fall, have helped shape the plans that we put forth. The event management plan in particular, there's been a lot of conversation, understanding traffic, understanding the particular nuances of those blocks, also from the people who live there. And so those help shape what we put forth in the event management plan.
And event timing, I mean, it's concerts, so I would assume it's going to vary throughout the day. Do we have a hard stop time? Do we have no later than this time? Do we know what that's going to be?
Yeah, so the concerts are mainly evenings and weekends. That's when the parking is available, and so that's what we're timing our events to. The evening events, probably starting, it has to be enough time for the office tenants to leave so that parking is freed. So I would say, concert start times could be 7 o'clock. Most of our events, I would expect to wrap up about 11 o'clock.
Okay. And I think you guys addressed this earlier, so I'm not going to make you stand back up there. But I did see in some of the comments talk about the library parking. It looks like it's clear that that's not going to be overflow or any sort of parking for you guys. That is a public lot, specifically just library based, right?
And I can comment on that. That's correct. And in additionally, the parking count numbers that we showed on the visual are parking numbers that would be available to the symphony. Those are not the total number of spaces in those lots. So the library building has in excess of 1,200 spaces, and we've got 900 shown for usage.
So you are using the library?
We're using not the library spaces at all. We're using the below ground office spaces for that garage. And then the parking garage to the west, which shows 500 spaces, is actually in excess of 500 spaces, the garage itself.
How is that going to be controlled? What spots? Is it going to be specific labeled or someone attendant where, you are only able to get those specific spots?
Again, it will be in the evening when those spots are not used. So there's, so office tenants will not have like one assigned particular parking spot in the evening. It will be, we will have staff directing people into the parking garage
Okay.
and then where to park, just like any other event if you were pulling into.
And if someone was trying to get to the library at the same time, how would that work?
They would be accessing the surface lot of that
From the others.
building. Correct. The access point for parking in that garage for events is on 49th Street, the
Right.
side of the building. The
It
access
would
for
be
the,
completely different access points.
that's correct. It's a different access, different entry and exit point for that garage.
Okay. Just one of the things that I saw was kind of equitable access considerations, and I just want to make sure we're kind of touching on all that. Lastly, this is just more information. So I asked it earlier. Commissioner Ender's comment kind of clarified it. So the setback from kind of the more residential side on Walnut, it sounds like that's a lower height, pushes back. So you're 75 foot or 76 foot, whatever you said, doesn't start until 60 feet into that, right? That offset, something like that. And that low one is what? Probably 1-story equivalent, 10 foot, 11 foot.
I think around, on the back section, it's around 2 stories. Somewhere in
After
that
the
range.
slope, after the grade. Okay. Right now, that's all I have. For now.
Well, anything?
Are there any plans to encourage ridership on the streetcar, like wayfinding signs to direct them to the facility and back to the streetcar?
Certainly, that was one of the attractions for us, and so anything we can do to incentivize that would be something we would consider.
Maybe one piece we haven't touched on is security. I know we talked a lot about traffic and pedestrian movement, access and that. Can you talk a little bit about security, especially during events and some that might invite crowds that are a little more unruly than others?
Certainly, our events management plan calls for parking personnel, ushers, ticket takers, security people, first aid, all of the things that you need to run an event of this scale. And so the staffing for those is budgeted in our pro forma.
Okay. It's some of those security off-duty officers or anybody like that can provide a little more horsepower for security or not? No.
The security will be basically the plan that MEMI has done for other venues, uses a lot of different kinds of folks for security. It's not just off-duty police officers.
Okay. All right. Any other questions right now from the commission? So I think we need to get to public testimony. Let's do that. So let's open it up for public testimony. If there's anybody out there that would like to speak regarding docket item 5.1, 2, or 0.3, please come forward or raise your hand using the Zoom feature and you'll be called upon. We're going to call upon those first that are joining us in person, followed by those who are joining us virtually. So got first start.
Thank you. My name is Marshall Miller. 4929 Main Street is the adjacent property that I've owned since 1996. I've also lived in the general area because I moved to Midtown Plaza area in 1975. And since that time, I've been directly engaged here at City Hall with a very wide range of ideas that people have, because almost everyone in the metropolitan area thinks the Midtown Plaza area is a terrific idea for them. And so I have been a member of the working group of both the Plaza Plan. It was published in 1989. That took over 2 years of meetings with all constituents, and then again in 2016. So I was appointed twice by different mayors because of my long involvement, purely as a citizen. Now I'm a directly affected individual next door. I'm not speaking in opposition, but I'm also not speaking in favor. I think there are a number of concerns raised, and that the presentation today, quite frankly, I was surprised because every time I've lived through a presentation and they came to me directly, the facts change. And today there was an enormous change in facts that I'd never been told about, which is an event management plan. Never was informed. I was going to suggest something like that, to be very frank, But that event management plan has not been made public. No one knows what's in it. And with certainty, it needs to have the neighborhood associations involved on that plan to be part of it. And quite frankly, I ask that I'm the only other property owner. I'm the only one next to the facility. I think there are, as the Plan Commission, as you know, well, all I'm asking you to do is exercise your judgment. The judgment of this commission over the years has stopped certain projects, but it also has not stopped it. It's just restrained it. It's put controls on it. And what has been said today in the presentation, quite frankly, is at 30,000 feet. I lived there. Yesterday, I spent 10 minutes at the intersection where the trolleys were, because two trolleys crossed at Martin Luther King, and I was there for 10 minutes. Everyone knows that lives in the area that every single street is a problem, and the streets going to the north have all been reduced to one lane. And nothing in this plan evidences the fact that they think people might come from the south directly down Main Street. Today, what this where this area is primarily residential. From 48th to 51st, from Warnell to Brookside is residential, very light commercial. If there's 100 cars a day on Main Street in front of my building, that's a big day. We're going to have thousands of cars multiple times a week, and people coming early, as was easily said, to eat at the restaurants and the bars that are open to 1 a.m., and then afterward milling around and getting something to eat or another drink. This is going to change dramatically what is essentially a residential area into an entertainment district. And therefore, there really needs to be controls. I'm not going to go through my presentation in detail, but the area plan didn't call for this in any manner. The traffic volume of thousands of cars needs to be considered. Every single intersection should be changed, and the city has talked about that ever since the trolley went in. From the standpoint of other infrastructure, try walking today from the site down to the trolley. The sidewalk will not handle hundreds or thousands of people that exist now there. What I was told yesterday when I was talking to other people involved, oh, you know, there could be a CID. There should never be a CID in that area, because we in the area should not pay for what the symphony is doing. You should do exactly what you did with the Sailors Project 20, 30 years ago that said every expense, 100% is paid for. The strategy of parking is one that is on borrowed parking. That does not mean that people will not park all throughout the area on the city streets, especially if they're coming from the south, because the design says that we will not have people coming from the south. They will only come from the west or the north or the
Miller,
east.
we need to wrap it up. We've
I
already
will.
kind of hit past your time here.
I understand.
Thank you.
From the standpoint of financing, I have been told, and I think it's fair for the city to say, is it in fact locked in financing? Because I've been told it is not, that there is, and what I'm concerned about is that a start begins this summer, and in fact, it stops, just like the Mission Shopping Center, and sits there because they run out of money, because all the competing projects nearby that are asking for money from the very same people. So based upon what we learned today about the event management plan, to me, that is what you can do, and require it and not approve this project Until that plan is agreed to in writing and all the parties involved in the area are part of that with a clear statement that 100% of the cost of improvements and security are paid by the symphony.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else?
My name is Crosby Kemper. I'm a resident of the Plaza area. I'm the former director of the Kansas City Public Library, a former symphony board member. I was with my father when he established the symphony and raised the initial endowment. So I have all that to bring my interest to this. I need to mention something that's been passed over. The Kaufman Center, the major philanthropic investment in Kansas City's recent history, will be damaged by this. The Kaufman Center board believes that. Paul Schofer, the director, the CEO of the Kaufman Center, believes it. I believe Julia Irene Kaufman believes that. It will take 30 to 36, according to Danny, programs that some of the better attended programs that the symphony does, and move them out of the Kaufman Center. Maybe 60,000 audience seats lost to the Kaufman Center. So there's a harm to the Kaufman Center and to the other two resident companies, the opera and the ballet. They certainly believe that. I also want to state the obvious problem that $70 million, assuming that's the cost, some people think it will be higher, that would build a building to house what it will house. And Mr. Chairman, you asked the right question before. You didn't get a complete answer. This will be rock, hip hop, world wrestling venue, supported with tax deductible philanthropic dollars. The obvious alternative to the use of those dollars is for the endowment for the symphony, which the income from which would support a substantial closure of the deficit of the symphony, which is the whole reason for this project. It's a Hail Mary silver bullet to solve that problem, but using that money for endowment seems to me to be a smarter use. The investment of this $70 million on the building is a high-risk proposition, too, that you're not told. According to the National Independent Venues Association report last year, this is an association of these kinds of music venues, 64% of them lose money. Keep that fact in mind, please. 64% lose money. The symphony is rushing to get into the ground before opposition mounts, increasing the likelihood that they will have to borrow money. They have not raised the entire $70 million, is my understanding, as Marshall said, thereby decreasing the potential profitability and increasing the risk for this project. It's not clear that they ever will close that total. The three models the symphony has used for this amplified music venue are the Brady in Cincinnati, owned by the Cincinnati Symphony and managed by MEMI, Anthem in Washington, D.C., Mission in Denver. All three are in entertainment districts with contiguous parking. All three are in entertainment districts with higher crime rates than residential districts in their cities. This is the only venue of its kind that will be immediately adjacent to middle and upper middle class neighborhoods, 2 blocks away from Visitation Paris, Visitation School, a block and a half from 4 or 5 of the older residential apartment buildings with older residents in the community, the Walnuts, Kirkwood, the Regency, the World Plaza, Sulgrave, et cetera. This will change those neighborhoods. The plan endorsed by city planners has, and you've heard this about 10 times so far, this is a piece of full misinformation. I speak as the former library director. I speak as someone who's talked to the John Kopaken about this as recently as 10 days ago. The 900 parking spaces that are counted from the colonnade as the primary parking for this, the closest parking, the library has contractual access after hours to those 900 spaces. Contractual access. The library has not been negotiated with on this. They've had a conversation with John Kopaken. You can't count those 900 spaces. You can't until this is negotiated. And I'll give you an example. Last Monday, a week ago Monday, the library did a great program with Candace Millard, David Von Draley on America 250 and the American presidency. Sold out program at the library at night, as all those programs are. 500 people in, 500 people online as well. And they used a lot of those spaces. When I was the library director, we used the Plaza Library for 75 to 100 events. Right now, they're doing somewhat less than that, but they want to do more. You can't approve this until you have the library's agreement signed with the Kopakins and with the symphony, which you don't have today.
Mr. Kipper, we're kind of run out of time here. You can wrap it up, please.
Yeah, sure. So I want to say that this is going to change the neighborhood. That's very clear. The parking plan makes all kinds of assumptions that are untrue, and you don't actually have a financial commitment that you can believe that this will get done without harm to the symphony, without harm to the Kauffman Center, and without harm to the neighborhood.
Thank you. Else?
Hi, my name is Cliff Holly. I'm the president of the South Plaza Neighborhood Association. What I wanted to read was more or less a letter that we sent last week. So a lot of it will probably be redundant, so I apologize, but I just want to make sure I get in front for
Don't
anyone.
need to read it word for word. Just give us the highlight if you don't mind.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
The gist is that we've spoken with the community, we've spoken with the symphony. There's been a lot of public engagement, and there's a lot of support for the development, but there's also a lot of concern about just what bringing 4,600 people to the neighborhood might look like. And we want to urge the City Planning Commission to, just consider the impacts and to make sure that the proper plans, such as, traffic planning and infrastructure improvements that might be necessary to the neighborhood. I know that the engineer has stated that no changes need to be made, but I know especially just walking down to the streetcar from that station, there are some improvements that could be implemented. But I also want to talk about the Midtown Plaza area plan. On page 79 designates this part of the South Plaza corridor as a mixed-use neighborhood and states that mixed-use development should front onto the main street with small-scale retail and restaurant uses on the ground floor. It also states that future buildings should maintain and reinforce street-level pedestrian activity through pedestrian-oriented uses and continuous, transparent, highly permeable, and active street wall. These standards remain directly relevant to the development plan, and even if the land use is designated as amended. While KCMO zoning and development code 588338 applies to downtown development, its purpose is instructive, calls for preserving pedestrian-oriented streets, activating building facades, promoting street level activity, and supporting economic vitality. Members of the community want to make sure that the street is engaged. A development similar, such as this venue, has a lot of potential to tie the community together, but it would be great from a day-to-day perspective if something could be included to help activate the street during the day, not just at night when there is, concerts and shows. Something that perhaps an open front shop window on Main Street that people could go into and use. That being said, once again, pedestrian infrastructure is important to the community, parking, but I just want to make sure that the City Planning Commission is fully looking at all the angles. Okay, that's all.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else here inside? Is there anybody else online now?
Kate Marshall has raised her hand. I'm promoting her to panelist.
Sorry, what was the name?
Kate Marshall. And I'll just a reminder for our online attendees, if you'd like to speak on this case, if you would please raise your hand. Kate.
Hi, good morning, Chairman Crowley and members of the commission. I'm Kate Marshall, the president of the Plaza District Council. I am speaking from the perspective of the Plaza District Council, which is really a organization. It's a placemaking organization, and it's focused really on the broader Plaza District. So our interest is in the long-term viability and vitality and identity of the district as a whole. From that perspective, we can see where the Symphony's proposed venue has potential to be a significant addition to the South Plaza corridor. But I do want to just remind us that the South Plaza's primary retail district is only 3 blocks on Main Street, from 49th to 51st, from the library to Visitation, which are the 2 current anchors of the zone. I don't think South Plaza residents would feel their zone is unanchored, because those are 2 really important destinations for this community. And the increased crowds and the activity that will be generated by the venue, and a venue of this scale, will certainly present some challenges and also create a significant economic and placemaking opportunity. So there is that. But adding a few thousand visitors to this relatively quiet neighborhood at dinner time will be a bit of a shock to the system of this relatively small, walkable residential district. So the PDC would like to be assured that the Symphony's event management plan will work closely with the surrounding neighborhoods. And probably the same goes for that parking plan that Mr. McKeever was talking about. It's encouraging to hear that you don't want to allow event traffic into the residential neighborhoods that are west of Main, but it's not clear to us how this becomes a binding requirement. I heard somebody say that you would enter an event management plan before every single concert. It sounds like a remarkable assertion. And work on behalf of the city to be on the receiving end of that plan. That said, as the South Plaza neighborhood mentioned, the Midtown Plaza area plan does envision this portion of the South Plaza corridor as an active mixed use walkable district that emphasizes development that strengthens Main Street and that pedestrian oriented activity. And we hope it will maintain that human scaled environment and reinforce the connections to the surrounding neighborhoods and the destinations that Kansas City has recognized similar principles in other high activity urban districts throughout KCMO. There's zoning and development code that's in our letter. Not to get into the weeds, but while that stuff is specific to downtown development at the entertainment districts, it does reflect the importance of activating all the building facades and supporting the street level activity. So those are really the concerns that the community has brought up. I'd like to see an activated space. The Kauffman Center is a beautiful building, and it's beautifully on a hill that's kind of, it's a thing that sits there all day long by itself until the activity occurs in the evening. So that's something to be thinking about. It's especially, along Main and Walnut, I think it deserves some attention. We agree with the comments that the commissioners made about plans for egress, the small front lobby, and the expectations of thousands of attendees queued down Main Street. I think those are all items that would benefit from further consideration. So we urge the commission to ensure that any recommendation of approval includes some clear and enforceable conditions that would advance this project's compatibility with the surrounding district and support this long-term vision for the district and the South Plaza corridor. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
No other hands raised online.
Okay. Pausing for a little bit just in case. So we'll go ahead and close public testimony then. A few things obviously came up throughout the public testimony. If y'all can address those, I hope you kept notes.
Right, too, Mr. Commissioner, thank you. Obviously, the project team can respond to any follow-up and detailed questions that you have. I would probably make a couple points. One, Mr. Beckley did speak to the finance plan for the project. And that is one of the things that we've been working on for this long period of time. It's not usual for that particular aspect to be a factor in the plan commission consideration. That is, if there was a tax increment finance plan or some other component that would be a separate there. So we're comfortable with our response, but it's a little outside of the scope of a plan commission consideration issue from my experience. The other thing I wanted to say is with regards to event management, traffic flow, that is an actual requirement of the city. The city does have other areas where events management plans are in place and required. And so part of what I think you were hearing was that there needs to be permitting for each event to confirm conformance with that events management plan. I will try to put it in just simple terms. It's really intended to hold true what our assumptions are, right? So there will be staffing and steps that need to be taken to hold that true, particularly with traffic coming from the south through the corridor, which is the thinnest traffic line. And so to the extent adjustments need to be made on an ongoing basis to, for all intents and purposes, it's 51st Street, right? So if you're coming from the south to the site, the only real access point until you get to 49th Street is 51st, whether it's Warnell or Brookside Boulevard. So it's just a matter of having a plan in place and adjusting to hold that true so that those traffic flow and people flow patterns are maintained. And that's what the events management plan will do, and it will be an ongoing thing. I think, and the other thing I would say is there was a comment with regards to the shared use of parking, right? The library in particular. So one, we do have agreements in place with regards to the Colonnade building, which is where the library is, my office as well. And with respect to the parking garage to the west, which is through the Van Trust Company. Obviously, there will be coordination. It's a scheduling that occurs between all uses so that that is consistent. That's also ongoing with part of those agreements. And the parking count of available parking is larger than the numbers that we've shown you. In other words, there's more available spaces, both with those two partners and also around, even including farther to the east, all of which will be adjustments that are made. This particular site and this particular request does not have a parking requirement. These are a commitment for us that we've included, and it's included in part so that our venue operates properly, right? So that's one of the things that we have as an interest in being able to move people in and out of the site effectively, not just as a neighbor and not just as what's required by the city, but our own self-interest to make the venue work. And so we would expect that obviously there will always be adjustments, but we will constantly be adjusting to size to the spot that we're presenting to you today. And then we'd be available for any more specific questions as we go.
Go ahead.
Just quickly about the parking. Here's my only concern with what you just said there. While it's not a requirement per ordinance, with the purchase of a ticket, it's purchase of a parking spot. So you have to assume that so I agree with you that it's not a requirement, but it is a huge consideration.
Well, we have parking agreements in place. I didn't mean to imply that we're going to have zero parking tomorrow. That's not what I am implying is that even for our own operations, we are going to meet what we've presented to you because it's requirements for ourselves, regardless of what the city does or doesn't consider a requirement.
Okay. Timing wise, I think, can you pull up the public engagement one that they have like listed out when the timeline of this? And I just want to, because what I'm seeing is the earliest public engagement was April. Is that correct? Or was it earlier than that?
We began public engagement in the fall, October of 25, and that is before we selected the site.
Okay, so since we've had a set of plans and like a traffic study and all that, has there been public engagement following that?
The traffic study was done at the very beginning of this early. Jeff, I can't remember the exact time. Sorry to make you get up again.
Are you asking about the required public engagement per city?
No,
council?
I'm asking about just other, I mean, the required public engagement was what, the 27th
27th of April.
Okay.
If I may, because I think this, I understand what you're asking, right? So there's an idea, there's public input. What's the result of the public input? And I don't want to simplify this, but I think generally the comments that you have heard, the considerations that have been discussed, and the letters that you've received that have raised, we'd like to understand more A, B, or C, they almost entirely speak to the events management plan, right? How are we moving people in and out of the corridor? Generally, that is the core question. The events management plan that has been provided to the city staff to begin review and exchange was the last item put together following all of that public engagement, the traffic study, and feedback from city staff on the traffic study itself. So if you're wondering, because if the question is what has come of that input, it's present in the events management plan because that was assembled with all of the input through the public engagement.
I guess my question is, do you think that it was too early and that there hasn't been follow-up engagement with all the associated neighbors and people that have concerns to kind of discuss this? I'm just asking.
Yeah, fair question. So I think the real answer to that is that the public engagement it will continue throughout the whole operations, right? We have a studied set of assumptions and plans that are a combination of, engineering experts, city staff, operation experts, design experts, stakeholders. Ultimately, I think if anybody that has a question of how people are going to move in and out, it's going to be a result of how they're actually moving in and out, right? I mean, and so that's why we think the events management plan that the city's required is the appropriate step. This would not be, there will not be a cessation of engagement with the neighborhood and the stakeholders for that events management. There will need to be adjustments on an ongoing basis, but it's all going to be, all the things that you are asking about really come down to how it's actually operated.
Yeah, I guess my concern is I don't know that there's any lack of teeth in that events management plan that allows other parties outside of the city and you guys to weigh in other than good faith, right?
We will certainly stay engaged, but I would ask the staff, I don't know how the city contemplates the governance of its events management plans. That seems to be the question.
Is this not, can you not do a good neighborhood agreement or something?
So because I struggle to fully understand this as well, but I'm thinking about events at Sprint Center and when streets might be closed down. And I imagine it's the same context with which the city's working with a private operator to manage an event with thousands of people. So I think that we're unfamiliar with it, but it does feel as though there's probably a good system through the city and I think if there is a good process, then for me, it's sufficient because although I could go to, if I live in the area or work in the area, I could go to a neighborhood representative. I can also then go to a council member. I can go to the city. I feel like that's accessible. And so then therefore there would be a way to explain, hey, this didn't work as planned. Here's the issue. So I do think it's just something that we're so uncommon with or unfamiliar with that I've had a hard time grappling with it, but it feels as though there probably is a good established process for it.
And there is, and I agree. I understand that point. My only concern is that is this neighborhood the same as Sprint Center?
Yeah, definitely not.
So, and that's where I wonder if that process should be different because of location. Do I think that it's a good location for what's being presented? Yes. I think that it would be a good addition to the area. I do think that it has to be handled differently than we handle the Sprint Center. Because it's a different context, different neighborhood. I mean, you're 4 blocks from Luce Park, right? Which is completely residential. There's no higher, yeah, I mean, I guess, yes, there's some to the east and west, but I guess I'm kind of on both sides. I really like the idea and I like what it does, bringing people to it, engaging that that area. I guess my concern is it has to be treated differently than other event spaces.
I'm not sure if this helps. My understanding of the way the city staff has managed events management plans with other areas is one, there is a kind of a schedule on like updating traffic studies, people flow studies. There's a schedule on when those updates would be required. And then two, they are, because there's not like a specific form, right? They are adaptable to the area and venue. So I think that may have been that's part of what I even took from when the city's traffic engineer was speaking, is there's some adaptation that goes on for exactly the considerations that you're raising.
Sure.
So my expectation is that however the city wishes to continue to work through those event management plans, we're going to follow it. And it makes sense that there may be slight adjustments.
Okay, I'm going to put that to the side. I've got one other question, and this was pointed out, and again, I think it's important just because of the
Wrap it up.
sorry, the neighborhood scale is that there was mention about the human scale. It's a little bit smaller, and engagement different from when like how the Kauffman Center is, right, where it's a beautiful jewel on a hill that exists as a beautiful jewel and doesn't get used during the day and all that kind of stuff. Is there any sort of plan for this to be programmed during the day, similar to the library across the street and things like that?
So certainly not at full capacity because of the lack
Obviously
of
not full
parking. But the idea of having something in the space during the day is certainly enticing to us if we could figure out the right business model for something like that.
Okay.
There are spaces that the way the Populous has designed the building, there are spaces that are accessible via private entrance that are smaller rooms. And if there were a way to do that in furtherance to the symphony's mission, we would certainly be interested to explore that. But the core business of the building is to operate during the evenings and weekends.
Right. Yeah. I wouldn't say the whole thing, but I think just definitely engagement is good. It helps security. It helps other things if things are working around the clock or semi. Okay. That's all I have.
Okay. Ain't nothing else to add, right?
No, sir.
Okay, so let's close testimony and speak amongst the commission. Kind of get thoughts from everybody first.
Okay, we have one last clarifying question with ticketing. So if someone says I'm walking or I'm taking the streetcar, I'm parking at the Country Club Plaza, getting dinner and walking over, is their ticket price still the same as everyone else's that includes parking?
Yes.
Cool. I'm very supportive of the project. I think there were a lot of good questions and concerns that came up. I think, 4,000 people is just a lot of people. And I don't know if, I think it's hard to grasp how 4,000 people land in this spot because you aren't dispersing in 360 degrees. We're trying to channel people north or east. And so I think that really needs to be considered. The library does great programming, a lot of programming. We need to make sure their spaces are preserved so that they can continue to do that important programming. They take so many events that don't have a budget to go elsewhere.
Could I speak to that?
Sure.
So the parking garage in question is 1,273 spaces. 273 of those are the libraries. They belong to the library. We are not using those spaces.
Right.
Of the remaining spaces, we envision using up to 900, but our agreement with Copaken would be also honoring what his agreement is with the library. And so the library's capacity is 500. You don't need 500 cars for 500 people. And the parking is very sufficient for the use that they've imagined.
Understood. I recognize the great work that the former chair has done at the library, and so wanted to respect that request because I trust his knowledge of parking constraints. But I appreciate hearing that you feel good about parking. So the sidewalks, I think there's a good comment about, the stretch down to the streetcar. Hopefully a lot of people are making use of the streetcar. Hopefully a lot of people are going to the Country Club Plaza for dinner and parking there. I absolutely think that those sidewalks need to be a part of this because they're a standard like 4-foot wide sidewalk, and we're going to have people walking 8 people wide, trying to move when you have thousands of people leaving the space. So my biggest concern is egress both within the space. I still would highly encourage you all to think about multiple exits. I think it's the unfortunate thing of the Performing Arts Center, that most well-attended events, regardless of which room you're in or time of day, you reach a bottleneck, and it's such a seamless experience otherwise. And I'd like to see that considered here. But appreciate what you all are doing. And I think on a smaller project, I would want to continue some of these things to see that they are thought about to a higher or to a higher degree of specificity. I understand that a project of this nature has a lot more people involved, and so trust that all those professionals will do a good job with it, but would really ask that you consider those items.
What else?
I was just going to go back to that comment you said that the ticket price would remain the same for if you're going to be parking at the infrastructure already there or the streetcar. I would like to see the prices go down if you're going to use the streetcar to encourage the ridership. That's something I would personally like to see.
I think the issue with that is then you'd say, oh, I'm not going to park, and then you end up in someone's neighborhood. And so if you know that you have built-in parking through a garage, you're less likely to park in front of someone's house 3 blocks over and fill up a residential neighborhood. So that's why I think it's actually the smart way, where it's like, hey, don't worry about it. It's built in. You've got a parking spot if you want it.
Yeah, you prevent a lot of neighborhood mess if you do that.
Anything?
I've said my
Said everything
piece.
you
I
want?
said my piece.
Okay. I agree with what things that Commissioner Ender says. I think there's still a lot of work that needs to be done between now and final approval with council from a standpoint of the event management plan. It is a little bit different because of the location this is in. To me, it's on the outside or the true plaza. To me, I'm a Northlander, and the Brush Creek is the south boundary to me. And so this is outside of that, and it's got a little bit of neighborhood to the east and south with residential there. So I think the event management plan is something that's going to be important to take into account the neighborhoods that are right there as well as you tweak them and look at them on a regular basis. I think the other piece to that too is having a little bit of opportunity for some commercial restaurant or something that the building can be used when an event is not going on. I think that'd be great to have help the neighborhood out in that too. So I encourage you to take a look at that. Other than that, it seems like a good project to me. There's a lot of things that have been thought through, talked about, but I think there's a little bit more yet to go. Security is probably another one, in my opinion. But I'm in favor of the project from a land use standpoint at this time. I hope it doesn't become something like Mission Mall where it gets started and stops, and I think you guys are smart enough and know that you're going to get all the money in place and do it all. So that makes sense to me. So anyways.
Because multiple people have mentioned activating the space on non-peak times, which isn't as important to me in the fabric of that neighborhood. I think it's an active area, always helpful, but perhaps the kind of plateau roof over, that it would have a very good vantage point because of where it is. You'd have really good views to the east, and that could be a really interesting place to activate where it doesn't compromise the flow of what you all are trying to achieve during events. So just a crazy idea. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and make a motion.
Sure.
All right. Chair Crowell, I move to approve docket item 5.1 without conditions, docket item 5.2 without conditions, docket item 5.3 with conditions, adding a request that you all continue to work with city staff on egress, both in the space and outside the space, particularly where you think pedestrian traffic will be highest headed towards the streetcar.
Is that just staff or also the neighborhood?
I'm just working with staff prior to council. So hoping that by the time this goes to council, there's a little bit more of a concept of, hey, this sidewalk is going to require the street to be widened or shrunk to allow for a greater sidewalk. Something like that, at least considered. And if Public Works says, nope, we can accommodate 2,000 people headed this direction, then great.
Your motion including activation of some kind of commercial activity of sorts for the pedestrians?
I don't want to put that on the operator, but if you all want to.
I think something like that would be good. I mean, it could be a small space. It could be exactly like you said, on top of the garage. There could be something there. I don't know.
Considered or required.
Well, I think they need to consider that and talk through that.
Okay, and adding a condition that strong consideration be given to providing for a commercial space that could be activated during the commercial business daytime hours.
Just to comment, I appreciate that as a consideration, not a requirement. One factor here is that this is a not-for-profit organization, and so there are some limits on what operations or business activities will be going on the site. So we have had conversations like that. We'll continue to consider it, but there will be some constraints.
Okay. Got a motion? I need a second. I'm going to second it. So, all right. So we got a motion and a second for approval of docket item 5.1, 2, and 3 with the addition of the conditions as stated. So Margaret, can you take roll call on that motion, please?
Parkin,
I'm gonna support this, but and say aye, but I want to make sure that you guys are fully engaged with all the parties that have concerns here. I'm just on record for this. I think that there's a lot of members of the community that have a lot of knowledge about this area and about what's going on. And I think that really has to be taken into consideration. I think generally I didn't see anyone say they did not support this, but that they just wanted to make sure that it moved forward correctly. So, aye.
Crowell,
Aye.
Enders.
Aye.
Forbes.
Aye.
All right. Look like motion passes 4-0.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time today.
Thank you. All right. So we have a commissioner change out here. So Commissioner Enders is leaving and we've got Commissioner Hassick that's joining us online to finish out our docketed items. Is everybody okay? Do we need a restroom break or? Okay, so I've got 11:29 right now. If we can take a 10-minute restroom break, that would be great. And be back here in a few minutes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Pretty good.
Commissioner Hashtag back.
Yes, I am.
All right. Wait on Margaret. Okay, you got it? Okay. All right, thank you for the little break there. Let's move on to docket item 6. Applicant here.
It may be online.
Docket item number 6 is case CD CPC 2026-65. A request to approve a rezoning from District R 1.5 to District B2-2 on about 0.3 acres generally located at 8699 North Bellefontaine Avenue to rezone the tract to be consistent with zoning, in zoning with the lot to the south. Matt Barnes is the staff planner for this case.
Okay, good. Good morning, Matthew Barnes, City Planning and Development. Here with docket item number 6, Staley Corners West rezoning. Site is located within the first council district at 8699 North Bellefontaine Avenue, within the Gashland-Nashua area plan. Here is a closer view of the site. You can see its location adjacent to Berry Road and North Indiana Avenue there within the Staley Corners West development. So currently that parcel is split zone R 1.5 and B2-2. You can see that red line that goes through it. To the north is R 1.5, to the south is B2-2. The applicant is requesting a rezoning of the entire parcel to B2-2. This will allow for the property to the south to be in conformance with the 50-foot drive-through separation requirements from residential zoning. The Gashland-Nashua area plan recommends commercial uses for this site. Rezoning request is in conformance with that plan as it corresponds with the B2 zoning district. The district planner has reviewed this and recommends approval as well. With that, staff recommends approval of docket item number 6, and I can take any questions.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for city staff? All right, let's welcome the applicant then. Good morning.
Good afternoon, guys. My name is Matt Ravel. I'm with Milburn Civil Engineering. We work with a developer to the south that owns the commercial lot. And we've also been working with Brian Mertz. He's the owner to the north of this landscape tract. We get it rezoned to commercial. It'll help us with the tenants that the client to the south is trying to bring into the area.
Okay.
Happy to answer any questions.
All right, any questions for the applicant? All right, let's go ahead and open it up for any public testimony. If there's anybody out there that would like to speak regarding docket item number 6, please come forward or raise your hand using the Zoom feature and you'll be called upon.
No hands raised online.
Go ahead and close public testimony then. Anything else you'd like to add?
I think that's it.
Okay. With that, I'll take a motion, please.
Motion to approve docket item number 6.
Second.
Motion and a second for approval of docket item number 6. Margaret, can you take roll call, please?
Arkin,
Aye.
Crowell,
Aye.
Forbes,
Aye.
Hasek.
Aye.
Looks like the motion passes then. Thank you very much. All right, let's move on to docket item number 7, please.
Docket item number 7 is case CD CPC 2026-64. A request to approve a non-residential development plan in District M1-2 on about 10.75 acres located at 11530 Northwest Prairie View Road. Larissa Chambi is the staff planner for this case.
Good morning again. Let me share my screen. All right, as was previously mentioned, this is a non-residential development plan at 11530 Northwest Prairie View Road. This is the subject location. It's located in the northern part of our city, just north of the airport. The site should look fairly familiar. The site did receive approval of a rezoning from a B3-3 to District M1-2 in April of 2025. The applicant is back for a development plan for warehousing, wholesaling, storage, and freight movement. And it'll have a focus mainly on vehicle storage for longer than 15 days. The applicant is proposing covered parking stalls for 886 of the stalls on site, and then 178 of those will remain uncovered for a total of 1,064 parking stalls. The development plan is required due to the industrial use on a property over 10 acres. So this is what those covered parking stalls will look like. They're fairly typical of what we'd see in a parking lot. And then the applicant did provide a landscaping plan in compliance with code. And then they also provided clouded areas of trees to be maintained on the property and on the property lines. So here's a view looking southwest towards the site, and a view looking west towards the site, or looking straight on towards the site. The applicant is not changing any access points, any building footprints, or any site layout. So with that, staff is recommending approval with conditions, and I can answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for city staff? Okay. Welcome the applicant then.
Hello, everybody. This is Neil. Basically, the site is currently used as uncovered parking. The only thing we're doing is putting structures up and requesting a long-term parking, because with the current zoning, we can't park more than, 15 days, and that's all we're doing. It's pretty simple. It's just a parking.
Okay. This is mainly for airport use, or is
That is
this?
correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
You got a shuttle that goes back and forth?
Simple.
Okay. 15 days is all you get?
Well, that's the max we can do. So that's why we're asking for a long-term. We have,
Okay. Gotcha.
vendors reaching out for a long-term
All right.
use case. So.
Any questions for the applicant? All right, let's open it up for public testimony. If there's anybody out there that would like to speak regarding docket item 7, please come forward or raise your hand using the Zoom feature.
No hands raised online.
Okay, we'll close public testimony then. Anything else to add? Okay, I'll take a motion, please.
Motion to approve docket item number 7 as stated in the docket.
Second.
So I got a motion and a second for approval of docket item number 7. Margaret, can you take roll call on that motion, please?
Arkin,
Aye.
Crow,
Aye.
Forbes,
Aye.
Hasek.
Aye.
Like the motion passes then. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, let's move to docket item number 8, please.
Docket item number 8 is case CD SUP 2026-25. A request to approve an extension to a previously approved special use permit for a parking lot expansion for St. Teresa's Academy on about 17.01 acres generally located at the northwest corner of Main Street and West 57th Street. And Larissa Chambi is the staff planner for this case as well.
Good morning again. This is a special use permit extension request for 5600 Main Street. Again, this is the subject location. It's down close to Luce Park. Again, you can see the subject site highlighted in yellow. The previously approved special use permit was just for the additional parking lot here on the southeastern side of the property. At the time, there was a lot of neighborhood concern regarding the on-street parking and how the parking lot was going to change the operations at the school. So we did place a expiration date on the SUP to require the applicant to come back and see how that parking lot is functioning. At the time, the school did state that they would require permits for all drivers, providing incentives for carpooling, additional bicycle racks, and security personnel at that 57th Street entrance, and new and improved signage in order to help redistribute parking on site. And so since this previous approval, the parking lot has been placed and all of those points that they discussed with the neighborhood have been put in place. And with that, they are requesting an extension with no expiration date. And staff has added a condition that any future improvements to the site follow the requirements for either a minor or a major amendment to the special use permit. So
Okay. Any questions for our city staff? Okay, let's welcome the applicant then.
Good morning, almost afternoon, right? Good to
Exactly.
see you all.
Yes.
We'd like to thank staff for working with us on this SUP extension. We do have like a short presentation, but I know you guys have a long day. Really, did our public engagement with the neighbors. We didn't receive, I think we had maybe 3 neighbors that came in attendance, which is a real tribute. I failed to mention I'm with Chris Newman, the Chief Operating and Financing Officer for St. Teresa's. He's made a big effort to reach out to the neighbors on an ongoing basis for any concerns with the school, developed a good rapport with the neighbors. The conditions that staff indicated, they've all been resolved, and we just look forward to having our parking lot well into the future.
Very good. Any questions for the applicant? Miss this?
Gotta say, after sitting through earlier, I was like, okay.
Gotcha. All right, so let's open it up for public testimony. If there's
Sorry,
anybody else. Go ahead.
I just had one question, either for staff or for the applicant. But if I remember correctly, landscaping was a pretty big part of the original special use permit. So can you just describe, was the landscaping that was originally proposed planted around the parking lot?
Yes, and thank you for reminding us about that. So yes, the neighbors did ask, we had a pretty extensive landscaping plan using native plants, and the neighbors had asked that we use some landscaping to be year-round and shield for parking lights in the evening. But so we did change our landscaping plan, added a significant amount of landscaping. It's all been installed and reviewed. And as part of the conditions for the plan, we had to have a landscape architect go out and review that and sign an affidavit, and that has been completed.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, let's open it up for any public testimony. If anybody out there wants to speak about docket item number 8, please come forward or raise your hand using the Zoom feature and you'll be called upon.
There are no hands raised online.
Okay, we'll close public testimony then. Anything else to add?
We just have one question on condition number 2 about requiring a certificate of occupancy, which we'll work with staff between now and BZA to get that resolved.
Does that work for you? Okay.
yes, that'll be fine.
All right. So with that, I'll take a motion, please.
All right, motion to approve docket item number 8 with the conditions stated.
Second.
I got a motion in a couple seconds for docket item number 8. Margaret, can you take roll call on the motion, please?
Erkin,
Aye.
Crowell,
Aye.
Forbes,
Aye.
Hassick.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
All right, let's move on to docket item number 9.
Docket item number 9 is case CD SUP 2026-22, a request to approve a special use permit to permit outdoor used vehicle sales in a B3-2 zoning district on about 1.35 acres, generally located at 7730 North Oak Traffic Way. Stephanie Saldari is the staff planner for this case.
Good morning / afternoon. My name is Stephanie Saldari with Development Management, and today we have docket item 9, CDSUP 2026-22, a special use permit for used vehicle sales on 7718 North Oak Traffic Way. The subject site is located just north of Gladstone. And this a highlight in yellow is the subject site, and as you can see, it's like right basically on the border with Gladstone. And this is just showing like the zoning designation. So the site is split zone. It's mainly B3-2, and then on the west side is R-7.5, and there are residences in the back. This is a photo taken from North Oak Traffic Way from Google Street View. So this is for TD Auto Sales, and these are their cars. I guess a bit of background. This site has an open zoning violation for the sale of used vehicle sales. So without a special use permit, and the property owner did apply for an appeal that's right now on hold with the BCA. It's been continued for next month. And so we have the site plan here with the existing parking and the vehicles on that front side. This is the landscape plan. So we'll have some shrubs added on the front, some trees on the north side, some more shrubs back here. And this is all existing, so it is heavily treed in the back of the building. So it does create a natural barrier from the site to the houses behind the property on the west side. And then this is the same picture from before, but just kind of showing you again all that greenery. And so for the approval criteria, the site does meet the criteria. It does not, currently doesn't meet all of the landscape requirements, but the applicant will submit an administrative adjustment for a landscape plan prior to the issuance of the Board of Zoning Adjustment disposition letter. And that is the street trees that is missing from the site. And so in case number CD SCP 2026-22, staff recommends approval with conditions. And that concludes my presentation. Any questions?
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the commissioners regarding docket item number 9?
I'm not sure if this is the right question to ask, but with that lot, would it make more sense to have it, instead of a split lot, to have it all the same zoning, or is there a reason why it's split?
Whenever that was created, my assumption is that it was zoned that way to create that natural barrier. So staff thinks it would be best just to leave it at that. There's not much that can be done in that area anyway, so.
Any other questions? Okay, let's welcome the applicant then.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. My name is Chris Maddox. I'm an attorney at Rouse, Fretz, White Goss. Office address of 4510 Bellevue Avenue is our old one. Our current one is 801, thank you, 801 West 47th Street in Kansas City, Missouri. I'm still working on that. I did have a brief presentation. I want to be respectful of your time. And if we can't get it up, that's quite all right. We can work around it. The special use permit is required anytime you have a vehicle sales use like this. This property was originally constructed in 2007, and it really operates more of like a retail showroom. The primary tenant is a flooring surplus store. And shortly after they came in, they subleased a portion of a very small footprint, about I think it's like 3,000 square feet, to a pawn shop. There was a special use permit for a pawn shop. That pawn shop occasionally accepted vehicle titles and would take Title II vehicles and would have the occasional vehicle sales. And so when they vacated the property in around 2008, TD Auto Traders moved in, and I think they just kind of assumed that because there was the occasional vehicle sale, they could continue to do that. One of the pictures I think that you saw was that this is not your normal used car lot. They only handle very small inventory at a time. Usually it's less than 20 vehicles. We did have the required neighborhood meeting. No one came to the neighborhood meeting, but I did have one of the neighbors immediately to the west of us reach out, and I spoke to him on a couple of occasions. He fully supports the project. His property backs up to the back of the property. He said that his family had ties to the automotive business in Grandview and completely understands. He thinks it's a good operator, and so he had no objections to the site. And then I was hoping that he would submit a letter of support, but you know how that goes. And then additionally, we do have some other businesses in the area are supportive of this type of use along this commercial corridor. The request to modify the street tree plan, did you get it to work? If we could just skip to that photo. Yep. This is that same Google Street View that was shown, but I zoomed out a little bit, and you can see the reason for our request to modify the street tree plan. The street trees is because we have overhead power lines. We don't want to create a conflict, and so our alternative is to put kind of like a shrubs or a row to screen the vehicle in conformance with the code. But that would be the only alternative to the full code compliance that we're seeking. And so with that, I think that addresses all of the things that I wanted to touch on. So we would ask for your recommendation of approval to the special use permit. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for the applicant? All right, let's open it up for public testimony then. If anybody out there would like to speak regarding docket item number 9, please come forward or raise your hand using the Zoom feature and you'll be called upon.
Online.
Okay, we'll close public testimony then. Anything else you'd like to add at this time?
None. Thank you.
Okay. All right, thank you. There's nothing to discuss. I'll take a motion, please.
All right, motion to approve docket item number 9 with conditions stated.
Second.
I got a motion and a second for approval of docket item number 9. Margaret, can you take roll call on that motion, please?
Perkin,
Aye.
Crowell,
Aye.
Forbes,
Aye.
Hessick.
Aye.
All right. Looks like docket passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, docket item number 10, please.
Docket item number 10 is case CD ROW 2026-4. A request to approve a vacation of right-of-way for approximately 60,500 square feet of Michigan Avenue, 17th Street, Euclid Avenue, within the Parade Park Master Plan Development, generally located north of East 18th Street between Woodland Avenue and Brooklyn Avenue. Larissa Chambi is the staff planner for this case.
Okay, good afternoon again. This is a right-of-way or vacation of right-of-way for 1603 Woodland Avenue. This is the location of the subject site. It's located just southeast of our downtown area. This site should also look fairly familiar to all of the commissioners. This is part of the Parade Park MPD plan. And so on this slide, I've just highlighted the area to be vacated, which includes Michigan Avenue, East 17th Street, and Euclid Avenue. So just some quick recap on what the Parade Park MPD approved. It approved over 1,000 residential units with a variety of housing types. Those included multi-unit buildings, for sale townhomes, senior living, and affordable housing. It was proposed and approved in 3 phases, which you can see on the screen. And then in that MPD plan, it also proposed to reconnect the street grid as shown. In order to do so, they needed to vacate this section of right-of-way. And so they are vacating all of those 3 streets named, and that's approximately 60,501 square feet. There are utilities within the area to be vacated, and all of those reviewers have added their conditions to this project in order to protect those utilities or have them turned off. And so again, here's what this MPD plan will look like. This is where Michigan Avenue was, and then East 17th Street and Euclid Avenue will connect all the way north to Truman Avenue. And then this is a view of Michigan Avenue from East 18th Street. And then a view from Euclid Avenue from East 18th Street. I could not get a view of East 17th Street, but it just wraps around. With that, staff is recommending approval with conditions.
Okay, any questions for city staff? Is this a city initiated or applicant?
Applicant initiated.
Okay. All right, let's welcome the applicant then. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I believe we have engineer or either an architect online that will be speaking, and then if
Okay.
you have any questions, we'll be happy to chime in.
Sounds
I don't
good.
have any hands raised. Who would I be looking for? Lauren Baker? Oh, okay. Having Wi-Fi issues. Lauren, if you'll accept the promotion to panelist, and then you can everything on and speak.
I will say while we're waiting.
Lamine is not on this call right now. This is Lauren Baker with Flaherty and Collins. I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys might have.
Okay. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I will say while we're waiting, the project is going extremely well.
Yes.
We're looking at probably starting to go vertical sometime around August, sometime in the late part of the summer. So we're moving very, very well, trying to get phase 1 started and then trying to move into phase 2 and 3. So just want to give you guys an idea that how well we're doing on the project as we speak right now.
Yeah, appreciate that. I was kind of curious about that. And I'm also curious about how are you holding up?
It's tough. It's
Yeah.
been tough, but I got great staff and my COO back there. She's very supportive. So we're doing extremely well with the project. Like I said, we're moving extremely well. It took a long time to get a project moving forward, but I think we've crossed every barrier now. So we're moving very quickly. We plan probably the next 18 to 20 months have residents in Parade Park on the first phase.
Okay, good. Anything else you'd like to add on this piece of the project, these vacations, or all pretty much straightforward?
Pretty straightforward.
Okay. Any questions from the commissioners to the applicant?
Yeah, just a quick question. Are the streets that you are realigning in here, are those following the historic street grid?
From what I can tell, looking at these plans, yes, these plans were worked on before I joined the company, but I'm looking at the plans as we speak and it is aligning with the existing grid.
Okay. And then I have a question for staff. Do we have any precedent for developments that rebuilt street grid, but the right of ways were maintained by the city?
I mean, not vacating this right of way and
Right. So has there been a development that has rebuilt street grid and then the street grid was taken over by the city thereafter?
I believe that the applicant intends to rededicate new right of way.
Okay. Then I'll ask the applicant. Yeah, what are your plans for ownership over the streets?
As Larissa mentioned, those are going back to the city. So we're working right now with Lamine on our planting plans, our street lighting, everything to meet city standards to move forward and get this moving.
Okay, so the intention is to take ownership over that for a indefinite period of time, and once construction of those streets is complete, that it hands back over to the city, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant? Okay, with that, let's open it up for any public testimony. If anybody would like to speak regarding docket item number 10, please come forward or raise your hand using the Zoom feature and you will be called upon.
I don't believe there are any hands raised online, but and Margaret's shaking her head no, so no hands.
Okay. With that, we'll close public testimony. Anything else you'd like to add at this time?
I think that's it.
Okay. Well, we'll close testimony. Thank you for your commitment to the city and the work that you're doing here on this project. Certainly appreciate it. So I'll take a motion, please.
Motion to approve docket item number 10 with conditions.
Second.
So I've got a motion and a second for approval of docket item number 10. Margaret, can you take roll call on the motion, please?
Perkin,
Aye.
Crow,
Aye.
Forbes.
Aye.
Hasek.
Aye.
Looks like the motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you guys so much. Appreciate it.
Yep. All right, moving on to docket item number 11, and this is our final item for the day.
Item, docket item number 11 is case CD CPC 2026-71, amending Chapter 88, the Zoning and Development Code by amending Section 88-585-02, emergency repairs, to add a new Section 88-585-02C for the purpose of amending the review process for orders to repair pursuant to Chapters 48 or 56 to encourage the stabilization of historic structures. Brad Wolf is joining us today from the Community Planning Division.
So good afternoon. So this is just a small text amendment. It's really part of a larger set of ordinances that the mayor introduced to address vacant buildings and lots in the city. One of the issues.
You need to share your screen.
Oh, excuse me. Sorry about that. There we go. Okay, sorry about that. So yeah, it's part of a larger process to basically address vacant buildings and lots in the city. In particular, those listed on our local register, if they end up having violations of either Chapter 48 or 56, which are basically our chapters of the code that address building maintenance and dangerous buildings. The standard practice is basically either, especially with dangerous buildings, to do an order to repair or demolish within 30 days. Given our review times, especially if it has to go to the commission, that can actually extend out beyond that. I know staff sometimes works with the owner, but we thought we'd codify it. So basically that owner could basically have the preservation staff review any stabilization and sign off on it instead of having to go to the commission. Basically, it's just making the process quick for the applicants to address any issues that would come up. So it's basically just adding this one section of text to our existing design review process.
Looks like it's trying to load.
You're right. It is probably is not on duplicate. Yep.
There we go.
There we go. So, so basically, the idea is to remove any barriers that a property owner would have to make those repairs quickly. And the other part, one of the issues is, well, some people call the dangerous buildings exception for our local register. We're addressing that by basically at a staff level in our process. So dangerous building staff, if a property is on a historic register, they're just, instead of a default to order to repair or demolish, they're going to start with an order to repair and not give the demolition option as their first notice. So hopefully a combination of these two things would actually encourage the stabilization of the buildings quickly and retain them. Obviously, if people do not want to make the repairs, that's a separate issue, but this would at least address owners are willing to do it to make it as quick and easy as possible. And that is my presentation.
Okay.
I just have a couple questions
Yeah,
about it.
Go ahead.
Process-wise, because just I'm very interested in this. So, couple scenarios. Let's say there was an owner that did say, "I'm not making these repairs." What does that allow us to do? Can we enforce the repairs without their approval on a historic building?
Usually I think basically with dangerous building staff, they first just issue the notice, obviously continue to try to get the owner to comply with any of the violations. Do we have the ability to make the repairs ourselves? I think, and I would probably have to get with dangerous building staff to be exactly sure. I think there is that part of the code, but there's obviously a big cost with that with the city and a lengthy. So usually that's not the preferred method.
And for vacant buildings, that would be us repairing.
So, and with the vacant buildings,
Sorry.
well, they're still a property owner, so we'd still encourage them to do it, even if it is a vacant building. So,
How about, is there any situations where it is unowned, abandoned, vacant, or, completely abandoned building and property?
there are cases, and a lot of those usually deal with, the owner passes and it's in some probate, where they can't identify, who owns it at that point. That's usually the most common thing I think we've seen. But we'd still ultimately try to find somebody who is the owner. Yeah.
I just mean for like, if we were to identify damage that needed repair, would we go in and temp repair it until, rather than demolish a building?
I think that's probably going to be a case by case basis. Because there obviously is even a cost incurred by the city when we do those things. So I think one of the other things that we can do is the mothballing requirements the city does on a regular basis to make sure those are done well. And
if we repair it, we own it, right? I'm just kidding.
All right. Any other
That was it.
questions for city staff? All right, with that, let's open it up for public testimony. If there's anybody out there that would like to speak regarding docket item number 11, please raise your hand using the Zoom feature so you can be called upon.
No hands raised online.
Okay, we'll go ahead and close public testimony then. Anything else to add at this time? Okay.
that's an addition.
With that, I'll take a motion, please.
Motion to approve docket item number 11.
Second.
I've got a motion and a second for approval of docket item number 11. Margaret, can you take roll call on that motion, please?
Lincoln.
Aye.
Crowell.
Aye.
Forbes.
Aye.
Hassick.
Aye.
All right, looks like that motion passes then. I think that's all of our docketed items. Anything else to come before the commission?
Not for today. A reminder that you do not meet on July 1st. That meeting was canceled when we set the calendar for this year.
Yep.
So your next meeting will be July 15th.
Okay. Commissioner Hassick, thank you again for joining us here to finish up the day. Certainly appreciate that. That we're able to get through it, and hopefully we'll have full attendance on the 15th of July. So thank you, everybody. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Right. Thank you.